Every once in a while, my job affords me the wonderful opportunity to go into a game demo completely blind and come out completely enlightened. All I knew about Jumpship before I met with 3 of its 10-person Swedish development team, including Daniel Kaplan, who was employee number 1 at Mojang, and Philip Koulianos, a co-founder at Hazelight, was that it was codenamed Hyperspace and that it would be a, quote, 4-player co-op adventure where you and 3 of your friends get to live the ultimate space fantasy. It started as a tech demo, but everyone loved it, so now it's being made into a full game. I was fortunate enough to play a 30-minute session with Kaplan, Koulianos, and another member of Keepsake Games, and I was blown away. The headline you clicked on to get into this video is not hyperbole. By Keepsake's own definition, and one that I'd co-sign after playing the game for myself, Jumpship is a clear mix of Sea of Thieves, Left 4 Dead, and FTL. The Sea of Thieves piece comes from the fact that you and your 3 teammates all work together to fly, upgrade, customize, and maintain a single spaceship. One of you flies it, while the others can wander around inside of it or even on the outside of it if you pass through an airlock and then use your magnetized boots to stomp around the hull, manning, fixing, or upgrading the ship's cannons. That in and of itself is fun. But even if Jumpship was just Sea of Thieves in space, where you and your crew cooperated in ship-to-ship battles, it'd still probably be pretty cool.
Oh, nice.
That was a hit.
But instead, you'll also land your ship, use your jet drive to awesomely fly through the air like Superman away from or towards your ship, go into instanced combat areas and battle AI enemies. Jumpship, by the way, is a purely PvE game, marking one major difference from Sea of Thieves, in encounters that can get pretty tough, thus necessitating cooperation with your pals.
Gotcha. A grenade, Spider-Bot.
Add in that an AI director, to use Valve's term, dynamically populates these encounters, and you can see where the Left 4 Dead ingredient in Jumpship's recipe comes from.
Manual override is required.
I had a fantastic time blasting bots with the Keepsake developers. Finally, FTL. On board your ship, you'll manage power conduits and other ship functions in an FTL-esque minigame, which sadly I don't have footage of. All of it combines into a moment-to-moment that's never dull and constantly evolving.
Hostile entities detected.
Just when you get bored of manning the ship, assuming you're not the pilot, which by the way is super fun, it's time to land and go into full first-person shooter mode. And when you've done plenty of shooting and got your loot reward and are escaping and being blasted at as your ship departs, you're scrambling aboard the ship to make necessary repairs like a Star Trek crew. Meanwhile, you can choose any number of mission types from your ship map, from smaller loot-light payoffs that won't take too long, to longer multi-part episodes that have bigger rewards. Keepsake promises a metagame that will enable various forms of permanent character and ship progression, but naturally I didn't have a chance to see those in my short hands-on session. Still, I've seen enough to be thoroughly convinced. Jumpship is going to take us through crazy space battles, dogfights in the skies of planets, intense on-foot missions on the ground, and more. All while working together with 3 friends in ways that feel fun and useful without being frustrating. Kaplan and Koulianos told me that it's going to ship simultaneously on PC and Xbox whenever it's finally ready, and I can't wait. For more looks at the latest upcoming games, check out our previews of Dune Awakening and Visions of Mana. And for everything else in the world of video games, laying a course for IGN. You may remember from last week's episode, our reviewer for Avowed on IGN, Travis Northup. Welcome back, Travis.
Nice to be here.
And our special guest this week joining us from Obsidian, we have the game director on Avowed, Carrie Patel. Carrie, thank you so much for making time.
Thank you for having me.
And a someone that I haven't seen in quite a while. He was an IGN Unfiltered guest way back in the day where we dug into his whole career. Although we got to do another one because there's been a lot more careers since then. The studio head at Obsidian, Fergus Urquhart. Fergus, good to see you, sir.
Good to see you too, and it has been a while.
It has indeed, but we have plenty to talk about this week. Avowed is out, whether you're playing on Game Pass, whether you've bought it on Steam, however, wherever you're playing it. I'm playing it on my Series X. Travis reviewed it on PC, Travis?
Series X also, actually.
Series X also, nice. So we've just got, we're just swimming in Avowed happily this week because it's the first major new release for Xbox of 2025. Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, kind of new, but kind of old. So Avowed, the first properly new big release for Xbox in 2025. And Travis and I have prepared a bunch of questions. We want to talk about this game. This has been a long time coming. This was one of the first games revealed for the Series X several years back. And, Carrie, I want to start with you as the game director here and kind of your approach to this in the sense of you, from what I could gather from you online, you're a renowned traveler. You studied abroad in both Spain and Argentina during college while you were earning your degree in, fittingly, international studies. So I'm curious because as I've been playing Avowed, I could see I wonder how much that influenced Avowed's locations. Because everywhere I've been in Avowed so far really feels like a fleshed out, lived in location. So I don't know if you can kind of speak to bringing that personal experience to the game.
Yeah. So, one of the really fun things about choosing the Living Lands as the setting for Avowed is that in the canon of Pillars of Eternity, it is supposed to be this wild, colorful site with all of these different and distinct biomes, and just a lot of really wonderful vistas, a lot of very different environments, and a lot for the player to explore. So the team actually took inspiration from around the world to create some of the different biomes and subbiomes that you see in Avowed. I remember we took some inspiration from, I believe, like the terraced farming in the Philippines for parts of the Emerald Stair region. And then we took inspiration from a lot of different places to create some of the different subbiomes of Shatterscarp, which features a mix of kind of high desert, these very rocky, craggy environments, and then these kind of very fun canyon environments like the Shark's Teeth. So really for Avowed, we wanted to pull inspiration from everywhere, really give the player this sense of traveling through this strange, massive land, kind of one biome, one region at a time.
Awesome. Travis, fire away, my friend.
Yeah, researching you online, it looks like you've written a number of books as well, Carrie. I saw the Recoleta novels up there. How has being an author shaped your career as a game director, or I guess vice versa?
I think so. I try to think about story holistically, and I think that's especially important in games where, the story that the player experiences, it's not just the dialogue, it's not just the plot, it's their experience through the game. And that's a combination of kind of their moment-to-moment pacing, also the visual stories that the world tells to the player, the way they encounter that story through quests, through combat, they're playing the story. And one key difference between, writing for a video game and writing for fiction is in fiction, you can within reason rely on your characters to do what you need them to do in the moment to move the story forward and to create the kind of tension and motivation that makes for a really tight plot. However, in games, and this is especially true for the kinds of role-playing games that Obsidian is really known for, you have to create that motivation for the player, and you also have to leave them a lot of room to kind of interpret and either run with those motivations or at times subvert them. And so we try to avoid making the player ever feel railroaded. We give the player a starting premise in their role as the envoy. They're a godlike. They have a mysterious connection to one of the divine beings in the world, and they're here on a mission from the Emperor of Adir. But what they choose to do with those mandates, whether they again choose to fulfill them faithfully, whether they start to poke at the edges a bit, that's really up for the player. And so we try to create, lots of opportunities for players to really inhabit that role, especially in writing dialogue. I think it's critical to make sure that the player character can be just as interesting, dramatic, and funny as any of the NPCs they're talking to. So writing for a game is really about creating that possibility space for the player, giving them interesting options, and letting them try things and see what happens.
I love that. Fergus, I don't want to leave you out here. First of all, I have to ask you, have any of the other studio heads inside XGS like slacked you or called you up or texted you and told you to just like slow your roll a little bit here? Because after you've announced you've shipped Avowed, and then you're shipping a second first-person role-playing game this year. So can you kind of speak to, whereas some of the Xbox game studios, we haven't even seen their first game from them yet.
So I think a part of it is, I think it's less about, slow your roll and are you insane? I think is a little bit of it. But no, I think we were very lucky in that sort of as a studio, when we came on with XGS and Xbox, we were about 170, 180 people, and through the course of the last, I guess now 5 or 6 years, we've not only grown the studio to about 285 people, but we also have a lot of really good co-dev partners with Heavy Iron and Beamdog. And so we're just in a situation where we have the opportunity and we have the resources to do this kind of thing. But believe me, I mean, there was a lot of conversations 3 or 4 years ago about like, is this going to work? Are we going to be able to do it? And luckily, we're doing it. Avowed's turned out great, and Outer Worlds 2 is looking awesome. But I would also say there are the occasional side glances of like, really another game this year, So I know what you mean.
Oh, I love that. Can you kind of speak real quick too before we get back into Avowed specifically about how the game is doing versus expectations? Because I've been seeing a lot of celebratory posts online from our mutual friend Aaron Greenberg with Steam charts and stuff. So can you kind of speak to the early returns so far versus the expectations?
Oh, it's looking really good. So I mean, a lot of it is just, I mean, what we've all been, me, Carrie, and the rest of the team had just been in the mix, just reading every review, reading everything on Reddit, looking on TikTok and every corner of the internet to really understand, okay, how are people liking it? What are they liking? What are they not liking it? And just seeing what we can do to react. And because you just learn a lot. You learn a lot about your games. I mean, we could have hundreds of people testing the game before it comes out, but then when it hits the streets and people are playing it, then you're like, oh, okay, this worked, this didn't work, let's tweak this, there's that, we need another unique here, maybe we need to inject 5,000 gold here, like just things like that. So that's really been the focus. I think for a lot of us, we're just basically, it's like no sleep for a while. And then I think that we actually get to actually enjoy the launch and congratulate ourselves maybe in like a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So that's really been the focus lately.
Because Carrie, you directed a DLC for the Outer Worlds, but this is your first time, I believe, as a game director on a full project. So you are a person then that's reading the reviews of your game? Because I've talked to many developers over the years. Some of them just don't like to read the reviews, and some of them want to read every word. So I guess you're in the latter camp.
Yeah, I think it's important to absorb the feedback. It can definitely feel like drinking from a fire hose at times, but I think you chip away at it in bits, and you talk with. We have a wonderful comms team that also pulls a lot from not only our published reviews but also our user reviews, user feedback. We have a very active Discord channel that our comms team runs, where they are pulling issues that players are running into, reporting those back to us, and getting those into the pipeline for our team to fix. So there are a lot of channels for this feedback. You start chipping away at it and kind of absorbing it piece by piece. And over time, I think you get a real picture of what players enjoy, what they would like to see differently, and also what they were looking for in the first place with your game.
Travis?
That's interesting. I know something that has been discussed a lot was, at least externally by folks like us, was the art style of Avowed and how it seems to have evolved over time, clearly from the original cinematic reveal trailer to the final game. Can you talk about that and kind of the rest of the game's tone, shape, and style, and how it changed?
Yeah. So the cinematic reveal trailer that we all saw several years ago was it was based around a different idea of what Avowed would be, where it would take place, what it would be about. So the everything that we've shown since then with this much more colorful, the much more colorful visuals, kind of the focus on the living lands reflects the direction that we've been moving in as a project since early 2021. For us, part of this color is about really showcasing, the beauty and the danger of the living lands. If we're picking this exotic, strange frontier for the player to go to, it should be fun and beautiful to explore. And it's been really cool to see players engaging with those vistas, taking screenshots from, some of their favorite spots around the map. So we wanted it to be beautiful. We wanted it to sell this sense of kind of otherness, of strangeness, but of, kind of this something that is still very majestic. And the other thing that it does is it kind of lets us show the danger of the living lands. Like part of what you're seeing in this gameplay right now is, bits of this Dream Scourge gunk, which is kind of a visual signifier of the mysterious plague that the player is in the living lands to investigate. And there's something kind of gross about it, but there's also something kind of beautiful about it. It has sort of this soap bubble iridescence. And I think without getting, too much into the weeds or too into spoilers, one of the questions the player is going to be asked to answer over the course of the game is, the living lands is going through a series of transformations. Some are related to the Adirian Empire's presence in the living lands, and some are related to the Dream Scourge and the forces behind it. Are those changes for the better? Are they for the worse? And what are you going to do about it? And so I think creating something that also visually explores that sense of ambiguity and pairs that danger with some beauty. I think it just gives players a lot to chew on and makes our world very beautiful and fun to explore.
You mentioned, Carrie, the pivoting in early 2021 to the game that we ultimately got. Was that decision to kind of go in a different direction than what you'd originally considered for Avowed? Was that based on sort of internal discussion of, do we want it to be this darker thing? Do we want to go with a brighter, different, or was it just like a story-based thing? Was it based on player feedback from that initial teaser? I'm just kind of curious if you can speak a little bit more to, because games change and evolve over time, and most of the time we as players don't know about what it originally looked like. And I thought that was an interesting comment that you made, and also that original teaser versus the final game. It is sort of an interesting signpost of like, they were here and they ended up over here.
I mean, I could probably, you want me to jump? Yeah, I can kind of, I could talk, and then we'll go on that. Is that, so where Avowed started was, it was actually started in 2018 when at E3, when we were kind of, as a studio, we were looking for our next thing. And it really was where our intent at the time, or how we were thinking about it is, hey, let's go make our Skyrim, and also let's make it multiplayer. So let's shoot for the moon and do the crazy thing. And now, in some ways, what that was great about that was there was a lot of interest at E3, and in particular, there was interest at Microsoft. In a lot of ways, it was the idea that got this conversation started about us being acquired. On top of the fact that we were already working on the Outer Worlds, and we already had sort of some early ideas about Grounded, all the way back in 2018, and so then we got acquired, and we started working on it. And we really were trying to stick to that idea of this kind of more open world, more multiplayer. And I think what was happening, and I mean, we've talked about it a lot, but try not to obsess about it, where we were kind of moving away from what we do as an RPG maker. We found in the Outer Worlds, we just do a really good job from the standpoint of like these semi-open world. It sounds like a weird way of saying it, but just these regions that really work well. They have a focus. They have a story themselves. They have the people that are there. As you were remarking, it's about all the world building. And I think as we were seeing what was happening, the game just wasn't coming together, and we were making it different than we've made them before. And that's kind of what led to now transitioning and moving the team over to Carrie making it.
And it's, I guess, clearly, not only in a vacuum, that decision has proven correct, because the game we got, Avowed, is fantastic. But surely your eyes are open. You've seen around the industry of other developers that were really good at one thing that tried pivoting to something else, and more often than not, I'm not going to name names, but you've seen how it went. So clearly you must feel pretty good, both in a vacuum and in a larger industry picture, that you've made the right call here.
Yeah, no, I definitely. I think a lot. It's hard because, like, I mean, I know this is not always visible to everyone. You're talking about visibility to people and not. But a lot of this is that it's probably frightening to PR people for me to even say these words. But we're still learning a lot about how we make games, right? So this is not something. There isn't some like there's some master's programs, but this is something that what we do is we're always figuring out how to push, right? How far can we push the engine? How many NPCs can we have it? How can we get conversations to look this way versus that way while having action combat and uniques, and you can do things to put things directly from the world into your stash and party cap. And there's this litany of things that we're trying to do. And I think, it gets hard if you try to do that within the context of moving far away from what you know and what you're good at. But on top of it, it's also about what you love. Like Relative City, we like to do different things. Like our core being is we love to make story, reaction, agency-based RPGs. And we just sometimes have to remind ourselves of that.
Kinda broke me. Hear me out. It didn't just break me in the screw this boss, this game is hard as hell, I give up kind of way. Like it, invariably breaks everyone who has started or rolled credits on Bloodborne. That's part of the whole fun of it. No, it broke me because it completely raised the bar on what a third-person action horror game could be, and I've honestly been chasing that high ever since. That is until I played Lies of P, the brand new Souls-like. No, it's not just a Souls-like. Until I played Lies of P, the brand new Bloodborne cover album from a relatively unknown South Korean studio called Round 8. Lies of P isn't better than Bloodborne, and it never truly reaches the same highs for me, but it comes close enough. And in a world where we tragically still don't have a Bloodborne 2, I will take it. So let's celebrate Bloodborne and its brand new baby brother, Lies of P. First though, let's do a quick recap of how we got to the point where a game so openly lifting Bloodborne's whole entire shtick is even worth celebrating to begin with. Lies of P isn't the first game to try and give FromSoft a run for their money in the genre FromSoft invented. Far from it, actually. During the 13-year stretch between 2009's Demon's Souls and 2022's Elden Ring, all sorts of other game studios got in on the Soulsborne genre with their own take on things. So much so that we had to create the new term Souls-like, a new label for Souls games that were not made by the studio that makes Souls games, FromSoft. Let's go through them. There was The Surge, which was future Souls with robot parts, Neo, which was Samurai Souls, Salt and Sanctuary, side-scrolling Souls, Remnant, which was first-person Souls, we had Star Wars Souls, Souls of the Fallen, Eldest Souls, which literally had Souls in its title, and tons and tons and tons more, like so many more. But none of them were really specifically trying to be like Bloodborne. That's the thing, we've had dozens of Souls-likes, but next to no Born-likes. Lies of P is the first game to really try and tap into the specific energy, pacing, and game feel of Bloodborne. Game feel, that weirdly intangible texture or flavor that specific games or franchises have that make them special. Like, you feel it when you jump in Mario, throw an axe in God of War, and dodge, roll, run, and attack in Bloodborne. It's different than in Dark Souls, and it's different than in nearly every other Souls-like. People like me really love Bloodborne. Sure, it only sold a couple of million units, and it's landlocked as a console exclusive on the PlayStation 4, playable on PS5 as well, but that hasn't stopped hardcore Bloodborne fans from obsessing over it for years. There's a massive art and cosplay community around it, a fan-made PS1 demake, a fan-made Bloodborne car racing game, and every PlayStation showcase and state of play presentation is preceded by an army of pitchfork-wielding Bloodborne fans like myself demanding a 4K 60 frames per second remaster of the game, to the point that some people just said, F it, and they made it themselves. People love Bloodborne. For reasons we'll never really know, it never got a sequel, spin-off, or spiritual successor, that is, until Lies of P launched this year as a love letter to Bloodborne. So what makes Bloodborne and Lies of P so similar? Well, for starters, both games feature a character with a gun-like weapon in their left hand and a big-ass, sharp, upgradable weapon in their right hand. They both have you creeping around cobblestone streets where overturned carriages, rotting horse carcasses, and dead bodies litter the once bustling neighborhoods, now overrun with nightmarish approximations of townspeople. They both make you stop off at glowing beacons to save and then warp back to a safe area to level up with the help of an emotionless woman dressed like a weird Victorian doll before heading back out to explore dense forests, creaky workshops, and colossal towers riddled with murderers leaking from the shadows and grotesque hulking bosses ready to pound you to smithereens with cartoonishly large hammers. And both games let you do it all while wearing a big dark trench coat and a weird but lovable animal mask, in case you don't want to see your hunter's eyes, or in Liza P's case, you don't feel like looking at a bootleg Timothy Chalamet for dozens of hours. Who does? I mean, some of you, I guess.
What have you done lately, oh great artiste?
See, Bloodborne had what I like to call the secret sauce, the juice, you know, the blood vials or whatever. It took all of the magic that FromSoft had been working into the Dark Souls and Demon Souls games and made it quicker, snappier, and more terrifying. And like Bloodborne, Liza P just moves quicker too. Themes and environments aside, Bloodborne and Liza P are simply built around faster traversal and combat. Sure, you know, some of the old school Dark Souls heads missed the heavier, more stoic approach to Souls games, but Bloodborne's reliance on gothic horror themes over evil Playmobil castles totally won me over. Now, since Bloodborne launched in 2015, FromSoft has continued to evolve the Souls genre with games like Dark Souls 3, Sekiro, and Elden Ring, which all up the ante in brilliant ways, and I love them all, but none of them connected with me on the same way that Bloodborne did. Elden Ring came closest with its near infinite options in weapon sets, stats, and playstyles, meaning I could get like damn near close to having my character feel like he plays like a Bloodborne hunter, but its emphasis on open world exploration and fast-paced yak horse travel, whatever Torn is just inherently different than, you know, tiptoeing around the dark and claustrophobic streets of Yharnam, a feeling that Liza P has almost completely recaptured for me. Now, there are some key differences, though, between Liza P and Bloodborne. Liza P doesn't tilt as hard into horror as Bloodborne does, although it does occasionally get close. Instead, it goes with a kind of steampunk theme, which ends up feeling less like Castlevania and Sleepy Hollow and more like BioShock and the City of Lost Children. Liza P largely trades Bloodborne's organic approach to enemies, you know, wolves, spiders, mangled mares, for mechanical ones, opting to more frequently give the player gnashing, chirping robots to tear apart. You do eventually fight some more beast-like enemies, but Liza P's story, influenced almost entirely by the original 1883 The Adventures of Pinocchio book by Carlo Collodi, is one of robot puppet servants revolting against the real people, mostly killing them and then stalking the streets at night. But one of the biggest differences is that Liza P is generally just an easier game than Bloodborne. It's definitely still tough, and there are definitely some big pain in the ass bosses that will beat you down and make you almost throw your controller. But there's nothing in Liza P as tough as Bloodborne's Orphan of Kos or Lawrence the First Vicar. It even got a pretty significant patch that made a bunch of bosses even easier recently, and your weapons even tougher, while simultaneously reducing the weight of the main character's weapons and secondary items, making it easier to go through the game without getting over-encumbered and slowed down by all your stuff. And Bloodborne never really got anything on that level. They made the loading times quicker. Thankfully, because at launch, it was like a minute and a half every time you died, and you died a lot.
Still lingering about.
Additionally, Liza P is smaller in scope. It's a slightly shorter game if you're just sticking to the main story. More importantly, though, it doesn't really have much in the way of optional content, like large-scale secondary areas and bosses that aren't part of the progression through the Golden Path. Bloodborne eventually got the Old Hunters DLC, a massive, awesome expansion that added a bunch of new areas, bosses, and weapons, and I'm really hoping Liza P gets something similar, not because the core game is lacking or anything, far from it, really. It took me like 40 hours to roll credits on Liza P. I really took my time with it, and that was with lots of backtracking to grind my stats up and find most of its hidden items and weapons. No, I want more Liza P because I think it's awesome, and it's more likely to get DLC than Bloodborne is to get a remaster, remake, or sequel, although I will never stop asking and praying for those things.
Farewell, good hunter.
But it's not just that Liza P pays a mean tribute to Bloodborne. Liza P actually does some stuff better than Bloodborne. Don't kill me on this one. Bloodborne is kind of light on story and heavy on lore, you know, the stuff in the margins that you kind of need to dig around for to appreciate. Bloodborne's got tons of that. While Liza P puts his story more front and center with a great script and lots of cinematics to bring it all together. Also, and again, hear me out on this before you behead me with a whirligig saw or a threaded cane, I think Liza P has a deeper and more nuanced weapon system. Let's start with your left-handed projectile weapon, known as your Legion Arm, which can be swapped out and upgraded to various effects and perks. I played most of Liza P with an arm weapon called the Puppet String, which works somewhat like Scorpion's Chain from Mortal Kombat, quickly pulling enemies towards you and you towards them once you upgrade it with big, powerful attacks to boot. Bloodborne's left-hand weapons, on the other hand, are, I guess the same hand, are mostly pistols, shotguns, blunderbusses, rifles. They're fun as hell, but they're somewhat limited in terms of how you can tweak and improve them aside from stats. And then there's also your main right-hand weapons in Liza P, and that's where things get really interesting. Liza P technically has fewer weapons than Bloodborne overall, but it does something unique with them. Most of the weapons in Liza P can literally be dismantled into two components, a blade and a handle. So you can then mix and match those components to make new weapons, which can be upgraded on their own, tweaking attack stats and attributes along the way. This basically means that there's kind of like infinite or nearly infinite weapon combinations in Liza P, which leads to some really cool varieties in character performance and playstyle. Now, this ends up working really well in favor of Liza P's emphasis on robot parts and steampunk aesthetics. There's a distinctly toyetic, kit-bashing kind of feel to the weapon system, and it helps Liza P stands on its own, despite so much of the game feeling like a Bloodborne spiritual successor, or like I said before, a cover album. It's the kind of evolution that you would expect FromSoft themselves to implement if we ever got an actual, official Bloodborne sequel, and again, since we haven't yet, I will gladly take it here in Liza P. So there you have it. After years and years of seemingly dozens of video game developers trying their own take on Dark Souls, we finally have a game that's specifically showing some love to Bloodborne. It's not perfect, and it's not better, but it's doing enough of its own thing that I fell in love with it for what it is, and I think you will too. If you're like me and you love Bloodborne, you want something awesome to play in between setting up your quarterly Bloodborne remaster and Bloodborne 2 summoning circles, we've all been there and I'll be there with you, definitely check out Liza P. It's a fantastic start from Round 8 Studio and publisher NeoWiz, and I hope it becomes a franchise for years to come. So, what's your take on Liza P? Are you playing it? Do you love Bloodborne and the Soulsborne and Souls-like genres in general? Celebrate that stuff in the comments below. And until then, for all things video games, and especially Bloodborne, stick with IGN. Good hunter.
Okay, so two things happened there in quick succession. Something that will never get old about seeing a rock land on someone's head. Hi folks, I'm Matt Easton of Scholar Gladiatoria channel and also Scholar Gladiatoria Fencing Club. I'm essentially a medieval and historical fighting aficionado and expert, if you want to call me that. I'm also an antique arms and armor dealer, and one of the other things I do is I study the original historical artifacts, the arms and the armor. So I'm a former archaeologist myself, and currently I do work with Windlass Company Replicating Swords and the Royal Armouries, looking at original arms and armor and then creating perfect one-to-one replicas of those. And today we're going to be looking at some gameplay, some battling, some fighting from Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, looking at the arms and armor. I'm going to stop right there. So I'm really impressed that they have people standing in what looks like a guard position. So in fencing or any martial arts, it doesn't matter whether you're looking at HEMA, so historical European martial arts, which is what I do, or whether you're looking at Japanese, Korean, Chinese, whatever. Usually you hold weapons, or indeed if you don't have a weapon, you tend to have certain stances and positions that you fight from. So I like the fact that they do have thought out and specific guard positions shown. And then that first blow that comes in, he does a pretty conventional parry, as we'd call it, on an inside guard or cart, if you want to use sort of 19th century fencing terms. You can see that they consulted with people who know about historical combat, and I know that the team that work on Kingdom Come have absolutely consulted HEMA experts on this. Right, okay, I really like the detail there and the use of the left hand. So, you know what? I've got a medieval sword here, you know, as you do. So one of the things that I think not everybody realizes is when we're using swords, especially if you're just using a single sword by itself, we'll often use the spare hand. So it's great to see that you can use it for grabbing the other person's hand or arm, manipulating their body. even punching them. I wasn't too happy about that cut though, and there's a reason here. Now we're going to talk about the armor. So the guy is dressed in kind of late 14th century style armor, as far as I can see, which is a bassinet helmet with an attached aventail, it's called. So that chainmail around the neck, that's called an aventail. Now, you wouldn't be able to cut through that. You could stab through it, but you wouldn't be able to cut through it. So I'm not that happy about the cutting move specifically shown against the mail because it wouldn't go through it. Although I like his guard position, it's kind of weirdly wide. There is a guard in the Italian systems that'd be called posto di finestra, which means the window guard, and usually it's held closer to the head. The problem with holding the weapon wide is it increases your reaction time. Say someone attacks to this side of my head, it means that I've got to move the sword further to get it over there. So to be honest, this actually isn't technical stuff. As soon as you get people sparring and fencing and someone's actually trying to hit them, you'll notice that a wide position like this very quickly becomes a narrow position like this because they're trying to move as quickly as they can to either attack the opponent or defend themselves. But for gameplay purposes, I can kind of understand why maybe that makes it clearer to see. Okay, so two things happened there in quick succession, which I really, really like. First of all, a pommel to the face. A lot of people fixate on the blade, but they forget the fact that everything here is a weapon and everything on the rest of your body is a weapon as well. So you can punch, you can kick, you can wrestle, you can throw. Hitting someone with a pommel, which is where we get the expression to pummel someone, is far more effective than punching them with your fist, although this guy's got gauntlets on, so that would make it more effective. But a pommel is, it's not sharp, it's not pointy, but it's roughly equivalent to the hammer in your shed. Not going to kill you, usually, but it will open a person up for that follow-up thrust. And I really like the detail that it was a thrust as a finishing blow. In this period, 14th, 15th century, in armour, thrusts are king, because thrusts can go in gaps between armour, or indeed against chainmail or mail, they can actually go through the armour. The fact that it's thrust through is really good and realistic and historical. You wouldn't be able to cut through it, but you could thrust through it. And that's what happens here, which is great. This is an interesting fight because it's asymmetrical. We're not armed the same way. So we've got our opponent has what we call an arming sword. It's called that because it's the sword that you arm with, which means get dressed, essentially, when you put on your armor. We, the players, are using a flanged mace. Called that because it has flanges around here, which are designed to concentrate the energy, but also bite into armor that we're hitting. And we've got a shield. Now, I have to say, if a person's got a large shield and the other person doesn't, they've got a massive advantage. So on paper, the person with any kind of hand weapon, even if it was just a hammer with a shield, will have an advantage over someone who's just got a single sword, because the shield is such a game changer. It's why people carried them for centuries and millennia. So although I really like, the guard positions and the way that they're moving, it does look like it's been slowed down, and I would kind of like it to be dialed up. At the moment, it looks a little bit like slow motion taking turns. I like what they're doing, I just don't quite like the speed they're doing it at. Right, I like that more, that quick flurry. So that looks more like fighting speed to me, with those flurry of attacks from the mace. I also like the variety, and I like the fact they have the thrust in there, because although you might go, oh, well, the mace doesn't have a point, so you can't thrust with it, but you can thrust with anything. You can thrust with a walking stick if you like. So a thrust like this into someone's face, because it's an open-faced helmet, is going to be very effective. More effective than a punch. Smashing someone in the face with the point then opens them up to a hit somewhere else. And I really like they have that hit to the back of the leg. I wonder if they got the idea for that from talking to bowhurt or full contact armored fighters, because this hit to the back of the leg is quite favored in armored fighting because it's where you don't have very much armor. So just looking out at that scene, it's actually beautifully, beautifully done. We can see an encampment, we can see baggage train, wagons. I also love the fact that we can see the liberal use of pavises or pavises, which are large rectangular shields, but essentially a large shield which you can completely hide behind. They're a bit like a door. They've got all of the key elements of Holy Roman Empire warfare visible in here. The baggage train, the encampment, obviously the soldiers, but the large pavises at the front for the soldiers to advance behind. In terms of how they're advancing, I have to say they're quite slow. We can't go back in time. We don't have a time machine, and we don't know how quickly they advanced on enemy walls. But bows and crossbows only really have an effective range of 200, 250 yards for the most part. Yeah, some bows can shoot further than that, but for the most part, that's the danger area, is that 200 yards between you and the enemy. You want to cover that 200 yards in a fairly rapid, not running, because you want to be behind your pavises and you want to be coordinated. I don't think they walk incredibly slowly while being shot at. I think they would probably do it at a brisk walk. But anyway, let's see what happens next. So one other thing that's missing here is, why aren't they shooting back? So generally, if you're attacking a fortification or a ship, one of the priorities is to try and clear enemy defenders, it's covering fire, to clear the defenders from the walls if you can, or at least get them to get their heads down. An immediate way that the attackers could reduce their casualty rates is to be shooting back.
Now I'll show you. Dismiss through the gate!
There's something that will never get old about seeing a rock land on someone's head. Obviously not in real life, but in an animated and fun recreational way. But, the fact that this person had a bassinet, this type of helmet on with an aventail, if a large rock hits you on the head, that's still a lot of energy hitting you in the head. So, it wouldn't cave in their skull, but it very likely might knock them out or, concuss them or damage their neck. So yeah, large heavy weights, always effective. So I've got to be honest, so far, this is the one thing which is making me really want to play this game, because I want to drop rocks on people's heads. This looks absolutely hilarious. I like the fact that there's the focus on trying to shoot the guys with the ladders. The game changer will be, number one, if the gate gets chopped in, so that's what the rocks were for, and number two, if those ladders come up against the wall, you've suddenly got loads of people coming up over the wall. And actually, this, again, I think is one of the great overlooked things from historical warfare, is throughout history, the predominant way of getting into an enemy castle or fortification was with a ladder. You don't need high tech. You don't need trebuchets and catapults and Greek fire, and all you need is some ladders. If you have enough people with enough ladders that are long enough to reach to the top of the castle walls, well, then they're going to be in your castle. So I love the fact that ladders are prominent here. Maybe the Pavis guys should be standing in front of the guys with the ladders. Is what I'd do. Stick a shield guy in front of that guy. But anyway, it's the right idea to try and shoot the people with the ladders. So I just want to comment on this kind of slow-mo movement. I'm really surprised by how slow the bots essentially move. They walk slowly. They swing their swords slowly. They climb up ladders slowly. I think it all needs to be sped up a little bit. They just look very, very sluggish and slow-mo in all of their movements, which I find a little bit off-putting. In terms of what they're actually doing, it all looks pretty good.
Take that! Jesus!
I just love the fact that they have put guns in this game, because it's so overlooked in a late medieval setting. And it was a game changer for warfare at this time. The advantage of guns in this period is that armor won't protect you for the most part. So the powerful nature of gunpowder means that you can shoot a projectile through armor that would stop many other things. It would stop all hand weapons pretty much, and would stop most or all crossbow bolts and longbow arrows. Whereas a firearm can be powerful enough to just blast through. In terms of showing how the loading and the firing works, I would put this at about 7 out of 10, maybe 8 out of 10. I think it's pretty good. They don't really, in my view, show all of the steps. They're simplified. Now, I do understand why they do that for gameplay purposes. If it was taking you 30 seconds to load, it would probably be really, really boring. Not at all effective in this close combat situation. And that's important as well.
Take that!
So based on what I've seen, I definitely want to play this game. It looks incredible. Clearly very, very well researched. The armor is all historically correct for the period, beginning in the 1400s essentially. The weapons are all accurately modeled. Even the guard positions, not always, but most of the guard positions are quite good. They're sort of historically inspired, even if they're not perfect, and I would tweak them a bit. I guess the question is about the gameplay, and the fighting does look a bit slow-mo to me, and I don't really understand why that would be the case. There are other games in this genre, Bannerlord for example, where you can move at realistic speed, so I don't understand why this looks quite slow. Of everything I've seen here, I would love to see the combat speed in close combat increased, but overall it looks like it has huge potential. Massive kudos to the historical research that's gone into this.
For more from Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, make sure to check out the first 43 minutes of gameplay, 8 details you shouldn't miss, or 8 developer tips for surviving. And for everything else, you're already in the right place with IGN.
Well, look what's back again, the month of March, right on schedule, because that's just how calendars work. And look what it brought along for the ride, a bunch of new video games. Who could have anticipated this? Well, we did, and here are March 2025's biggest game releases. Before we get into it, just the usual caveat that we try to make these videos as comprehensive and informative and accurate as possible, but release dates do change and we have been known to make mistakes. Case in point, last month I got all riled up about PGA Tour 2K25's Legend Edition having the ludicrous price of $199.99, but that was a typo that nobody caught.
The price is wrong.
It's in fact priced at $119.99, so still expensive, but less outlandishly so. So apologies for screwing that up, and for anything else I've ever screwed up or ever will screw up in the future.
Obviously, you're not a golfer.
On a related note, we also do our best to make these videos entertaining, and it's a delicate balancing act sometimes. You make something too serious and you bore people, and you make it too silly and it annoys them, and we heard you loud and clear about last month's episode going a little too hard with the goofs and gags, so we'll try to pump the brakes on that this month.
Shh, even before you start. That was a preemptive shh.
Anyway, let's get on with the video games because that's probably what you're here for. For decades, people have been asking where in the world is Carmen Sandiego, and that answer invariably differs. Back in January, the infamous globe-trotting thief crept onto iOS and Android by way of Netflix games, and on March 4th, you'll be able to catch her on consoles as well. Speaking of March 4th, if you'd rather March 4th in a more regimented ambulatory sense, Age of Mythology Retold comes to PS5 that date as well, following its PC and Xbox Series release last September, and that date also sees its Immortal Pillars expansion dropping on all those platforms I just mentioned. If you'd like to immortalize some stuff in a building with pillars out front, you can do exactly that in 2 Point Museum, the latest cartoony management sim from the folks behind 2 Point Hospital and 2 Point Campus, except this time, you probably guessed, you'll be curating a museum of very silly exhibits. That's on PS5, Xbox Series, and PC. Still that day is Everhood 2, the follow-up to the 2021 ARPG that paired bizarre visuals with a novel musical approach to combat. That's on Switch and PC. If you prefer more conventional RPG, on March 6th you can play Suikoden 1 and 2 HD Remaster, Gate Rune, and Dunan Unification Wars, which may sound like a straightforward remaster of the beloved PS1 classics with some fancy buzzwords slapped on for fun, but it is in fact a remaster of the PSP port of said PS1 classics, and you can now play it on all of the modern platforms to your heart's content. March 6th is a big day for new games too. Split Fiction is the latest from Hazelight Studios, the team that gave us A Way Out and It Takes Two, and once again this is played exclusively co-op and it follows a pair of writers, one sci-fi, one fantasy, who are sucked into a simulation and forced to work together to escape. I guess you could say It Takes Two to find A Way Out. That's coming to PS5, Xbox Series, and PC. Also coming to those platforms is Fragpunk, which will have a team of 5 working cooperatively to shoot the members of a different team also comprised of 5 players also trying to shoot them in return. That was a really clumsy way of saying this is a 5v5 shooter. But wait, hold on, before your eyes glaze over because we have so many of those, here's the hook for this one. It's got a roguelike twist and players draw cards that add modifiers that change the dynamic, stuff like flipping the level upside down or changing the weather to make it harder to run without slipping and falling on your ass, or activating big head mode so you can shoot the enemy teams in the heads more easily, or making little head mode so they can't shoot you as well. If you prefer a game that involves bizarre cranial maladies of this sort, but is a little less of an assault on the senses, Do No Harm is a medical simulation with a Lovecraftian twist, so you'll be treating patients for ordinary old-timey ailments and also helping them cope with the lasting effects of encounters with unthinkable cosmic horrors. That's on PC. If you think dragons suck and you want to beat the crap out of them, you can go do that in Dragonkin the Banished, a good old-fashioned action RPG set in a fantasy realm that is all messed up for dragon-related reasons. That hits early access on PC March 6th with new-gen console versions to follow at a later date. On March 7th, if you're suffering from a bad case of WrestleMania and you've got enough money in the bank, you could beat the clock and play WWE 2K25 a whole week early by snagging the Bloodline or Deadman editions. Otherwise, the standard edition is out March 14th. That's on everything but Switch. If you'd like to play a video game that has considerably less sweaty people jumping on each other, March 7th also sees the release of Sugardew Island, your cozy farm shop. This looks like Stardew Valley by way of Animal Crossing, and you'll toil away in the fields growing cartoon fruits and vegetables to sell to the magical forest folk, befriending some whimsical characters along the way. And also, it has romance options, so hey, maybe it does involve sweaty people jumping on each other. Anyway, that's on Switch, both PlayStations, Xbox Series, and PC. On March 10th, Rise of the Ronin hits PC following a year of console exclusivity on PS5. I feel like this one came and went without much commotion, but it's a totally decent open-world samurai game, so if you can't wait 10 whole days for Assassin's Creed Shadows, or however many months for Ghost of Yotei, that's an option now too. If drinking a hot cup of matcha is more appealing to you than wielding a katana, how about a nice relaxing game about a former arena fighter retiring to manage a tea shop? Well, that's what Wanderstop looks like, but there's more going on here. It's from some of the creators of the Stanley Parable and Gone Home, and in addition to being a cozy game about making tea, it's also a commentary on burnout, like the psychological kind, not the racing game. Check out the trailer for Wanderstop, it looks like it might go places. That's on PS5 and PC on the 11th. On March 13th, Dungeons of Hinterberg meanders its way onto PS4 and PS5 following its Xbox and PC launch last summer. This is also kind of a commentary on burnout, but rather than quitting an exciting violent job to do business stuff, it's about quitting a business job to go do exciting violent stuff, namely climbing around in the Alps slaying monsters instead of climbing the corporate ladder. On March 14th, you can play MLB The Show 25 by grabbing the digital deluxe edition for $99.99 US, and yes, I double-checked that price. You can also save $30 by waiting 4 more days for the standard edition, which is officially out on PS5, Xbox Series, and Switch on the 18th. On March 20th, Assassin's Creed Shadows is supposedly coming out, and this one's been delayed enough times that it's feeling a little bit like Groundhog's Day to tell you about it in a video like this, but in case you haven't been paying attention, this one takes place in feudal Japan and features dual protagonists, Yasuke, who is a samurai, and Naoe, who is a ninja, and as is customary in the Assassin's Creed games, they will climb stuff and stab people, and then jump off of the stuff that they climbed, and then land in conveniently placed hay bales. That's on PS5, Xbox Series, PC, and select Apple devices.
It's fabricated with materials that shouldn't exist. And yet, this is clearly a very ancient artifact.
Also on March 20th, Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition makes its way to Switch. This was originally released on the Wii U in 2015, and considering the Switch sold 11 times as many units as its predecessor, a whole lot of Xenoblade fans are going to be playing this one for the first time ever, and also I imagine that some fans who played it way back when have forgotten enough in the decade since it came out that it's probably worth a replay. The first few months of the year are usually big for JRPGs, and we regularly get annual installments of long-running series with even longer-running titles. For example, Atelier Yumiya, The Alchemist of Memories, and The Envisioned Land, which is coming to everything on March 21st. This is the follow-up to last year's Atelier Reslariana, Forgotten Alchemy, and The Liberator of Polar Night, which only came to mobile and PC, but the year before that, there was Atelier Ryza 3, Alchemist of the End, and The Secret Key. Not counting ports, remakes, or side stories, new verbosely entitled installments in the Atelier series have been released basically every year since it debuted way back in 1997. This is pretty impressive considering how impenetrable it probably seems to newcomers. I mean, Atelier, the name of the series, is an esoteric word for workshop that I'm not sure how to pronounce, and I had to look up to figure out what it means. So part of me is like, maybe they should workshop that title, but at the same time, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Clearly they're doing something right, because this series has been going for almost 3 decades with steady installments. Outside of sports games, I can't think of too many franchises that have managed to steadily churn out new games for this long without completely derailing, rebooting, becoming massively popular, or some combination thereof. So if we have any Atelier fans watching, I'm really curious, where do you start? How do you get into it? What's the big deal? Am I pronouncing it right?
You keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
Anyway, if you'd like a video game series that's a little more self-explanatory about where it takes place and what you're doing there, Killing Floor 3 hits new gen and PC on the 25th, and it'll have you and maybe some pals teaming up to make a real mess, shooting and stabbing a bunch of god-awful bioengineered abominations. You know, the real Killing Floor is one that has a bunch of slippery areas and trip hazards, so watch your step out there. Somebody put up a wet floor sign for Pete's sake. On March 26, you can burn rubber and leave skid marks all over the place in JDM Japanese Drift Master, an open-world racer with hyper-realistic gameplay, but a story that unfolds through animated cutscenes that are clearly taking some cues from Initial D. You can install that on your D drive on your PC. On the 27th, Atomfall hits everything but Switch, which has some obvious Fallout DNA, but probably cribs a bit from Stalker as well, as it incorporates some survival elements and is based loosely on a real nuclear disaster rather than a fictional nuclear war. Atomfall takes place in an alternate timeline where the 1957 wind-scale fire went a whole lot worse, leaving the United Kingdom thoroughly irradiated and also populated with some creepy Wicker Man cultists and Bioshock-looking robots, which you will help deal with. Thank goodness you're here. If you'd rather deal with some high-value elusive targets or just make people slip on banana peels in immersive VR, Hitman World of Assassination comes to PlayStation VR 2 that day as well, and you can play or replay the entirety of IO Interactive's utterly brilliant and also completely slapstick assassination sim completely from Agent 47's perspective. This was released for PSVR 1 already, and it's made its way to other VR headsets since then with a not so great reception, but hopefully some extra time allowed this version to be fine-tuned. And hey, even if it's one of the worst ways to play a great game, it's still something new for PSVR 2 owners, and also, you can make people slip on banana peels, which will never not be funny.
Look, 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 look. Look! Oh!
Still that day is Bubble Ghost Remake. Bubble Ghost was first released in 1987 for a variety of personal computers before having the noteworthy honor of being the first French game published for the original Game Boy, or the Jeu de Garçon as they don't actually call it there. Bubble Ghost is about a ghost who has a bubble, and Bubble Ghost Remake is a remake of that game, which is coming to Nintendo Switch. I hope that clears things up. And finally on the 27th, the first Berserker Kazan is a single-player action RPG Souls-like set in the universe of the massively popular Dungeon and Fighter series. And man, it is so nice to see a live service multiplayer game reinvented as a cool-looking single-player game rather than the other way around. And now I want to see Maple's story turned into a horrifying Souls-like. The first Berserker is coming to Xbox Series, PS5, and PC. And finally, on March 28th, Inzoi comes to PC, the ridiculously gorgeous life simulation game, which sort of looks like if somebody remade The Sims in GTA 5 and then installed a bunch of those ultra-realistic graphics mods that make your PC catch fire, but even that isn't doing it justice. Considering what people did with the character creator demo for Inzoi that was released, I cannot wait to see what kind of weird stuff shows up online once that game is out in the wild. That is coming to new-gen consoles later on, but there's no release window quite yet. Okay, those are March 2025's biggest games. If you have trouble keeping track of all of these games, I would highly recommend checking out IGN Playlist. It's kind of like Goodreads or Letterboxd, but it's for games. We've got a massive database of basically every game ever released, announced, or even just rumored, so if you want to keep a list of everything you already played, are currently playing, or want to play someday in the future, you can do that there, among other things. Check it out by going to this website or clicking this QR code, or, just Google it. Real quick before we go, I wanted to plug another video I was in last month that involved me flying to the UK, going to an actual castle, interviewing medieval experts about how historically authentic Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is, and then getting hit on the head with stuff while wearing a full suit of armor. It is one of my favorite videos I've ever been in, so please go watch that if you haven't already. Before we go, a big huge thank you to Amanda Medina, Chris Del Padre, and Logan Plant for helping this video come together each and every month. A lot of work goes into it, even when we screw up sometimes, so thank you to everybody who tunes in every month and watches. Sound off in the comments below with what you're playing this month, or anything we might have forgotten, or just to say hi, whatever. I'll see you next time, everybody. Thanks for watching. Still that day is Bubble Ghost Bubble Ghost. Why is it Bubble Ghost? Still that day is Bubble Ghost Remake. Bubble Ghost is about a ghost who has a bubble. Bubble Ghost, in case you couldn't figure it out, is about a ghost who has a bubble. Still that day is Bubble Ghost Remake. Bubble Ghost was first released in 1987. I don't know why it's so funny. Yes.
IGN Fan Fest 2025 is here. From Monster Hunter Wilds to Mythic Quest, Daredevil Born Again, let's dance, to Devil May Cry. Coming up, the ID at Xbox Showcase. We'll be getting a look at upcoming projects from Don't Nod, NeoWiz, and Raccoon Logic. Plus, new looks at what's coming to hit games like Balatro. IGN Fan Fest Day 1 starts right now.
Hi, I'm Martin Tweed, former CEO of Kindred Aerospace. Fired by Alta Interglobal and abandoned on the far edges of space with no gear, no job, and no plan. But don't panic! While they may have tossed you aside like so much garbage, worry not! Because you can always turn to Kindred for a solution. Introducing the Kindred Catalog. With the right resources, you can create tools such as the Goo Cannon from Sapoos. Smother creatures in viscous green goo to make them slip instead of eating you. Disgusting. Or use your lasso to catch them. We promise that any research conducted will unlock more fabulous gear and that the harm to the creature will be minimal. Use conductive pharaoh goo to shock and open organic doors, or spread it on the ground to slow down a speedy foe. Or lay down a goo fuse. Then after your buddy has upgraded that pacifier pistol with a charged shot, light them all up. If that doesn't work, try
the Mad Fork from Kindred Labs.
Move mountains. Create platforms. Grab makeshift spears from the environment. And remember, you still have
your lasso and whip from Wild Times.
Whip some critters to keep them at bay so you or your buddy can punt them off a cliff. Oh, the hilarity that will ensue. Then upgrade that whip so you can grapple launch yourself to new heights. Or better yet, kick a few critters into the air while you and your buddy pick them off with a brand new Griffin Splunker pacifier pistol. It's a homemade skeet shooting game. The Kindred Catalog. You have the tools, you have the imagination, and let's face it, you have the time. Find it, build it, then execute it. The wackier the plan, the juicier the solution. I'll be in touch. Onward and upward.
Hello and welcome to the 2025 ID at Xbox Showcase right here on IGN Fan Fest. The ID at Xbox Showcase is all about games, and this year we've got exclusive reveals of brand new games you've never seen before, some great stuff coming to games you already know and love, and a bunch of awesome surprises along the way. And I'm your host, Akeem.
And I'm Alan Wheeler. It's always an honor to join forces with our friends at Xbox to bring you the latest of what Xbox fans will be playing next wherever you play your Xbox games. You just got a brand new look at Revenge of the Savage Planet, the new sci-fi action-adventure game coming your way this May.
The ID at Xbox 2025 Showcase is all a part of IGN Fan Fest, which will be going strong all week long, so be sure to tune into that. And we'll have interviews with some of the most talented directors, actors, writers, and game makers in the world, and new looks at things like Daredevil Born Again, Mythic Quest, WWE 2K25, and so much more. And hey, if you missed any of that, don't stress it. You can easily catch up on IGN.com or IGN's YouTube page.
But for now, let's get back to the ID at Xbox Showcase with a sneak peek at some big games heading to Xbox in the not-so-distant future. Take a look.
Warning, hostile ships detected.
Yeah! 'Cause I will fall. 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 Yeah! '
Rise and shine, little merchant. Wake up. Wake up, Will. Get ready. Your next journey unfolds. A new place to call home. Uncharted lands brimming with peril. And treasures beyond imagination. Tread carefully, though. Who knows what tomorrow holds?
I, Herbert S. Sinclair, give to my grandnephew, Simon P. Jones, the house and land which I own near Mount Holly. The above provision is contingent on discovering the location of the 46th room of my 45-room estate. Any heir worthy of the Sinclair legacy should have no trouble uncovering its whereabouts within a timely manner. Should my grandnephew fail to uncover this room, then this gift shall lapse. Herbert S. Sinclair.
You just got to look at Jump Ship, Echo Weaver, Moonlighter 2, The Endless Vault, and Blueprints. You can sign up for the Jump Ship beta today at jumpshipgame.com. And Blueprints, the gorgeous puzzle game, will be arriving day one on Xbox Game Pass. Now, believe it or not, we're only just getting started here. Coming up, 4 more games we can't wait to show you.
That's right, the 2025 ID Xbox Showcase has tons more game reveals and surprises in store right here on IGN Fan Fest. But first, we need to take a quick break. Stick around. FanFest is presented by the Army National Guard, serving our communities and helping those in need. Are you ready to make a difference?
IGN Plus is where your adventure begins.
What are you selling?
Plus is the place to get unlimited access to all the tools you need to beat your games.
Here's what you need to know for bringing down Gloomspawn.
Plus, awesome exclusive discounts on IGN Store.
Maybe this would tease open your money pouch.
Plus, ad-free browsing on IGN.com. Plus, unlimited game help tools like premium interactive maps with your own custom map markers, filters, marker notes, and more.
This will come in handy.
Plus, access to sweepstakes, giveaways, and free game keys.
Wow! Exactly.
Want more? Head to IGN.com/plus and start your adventure today. IGN Store has it all. From clothes and collectibles to vinyl records, accessories, model kits, and action figures from the biggest and best franchises like The Legend of Zelda, Star Wars, Fallout, Dungeons & Dragons, and more. Whatever your pop culture passion, you're guaranteed to find something you love. There are new and exciting products hitting the store every week, like the Wasteland-ready Fallout Vault 33 hoodie, which pairs perfectly with the working wearable Pip-Boy. Plus, high-quality IGN Store exclusives like the powerful and spicy Star Wars Darkside Hot Sauce by Truff. We've even got merchandise for you to rock while tuning in to the IGN shows and podcasts you love. Or cap off a long day by relaxing to the soundtracks of your favorite video games, like Cyberpunk and The Last of Us. And the best part? You don't even need to leave the house to go there. Just head to store.ign.com and start shopping today. The IGN Store. You deserve it.
Hey, welcome back to ID at Xbox right here on IGN Fan Fest. Now up next, we have 4 more games we can't wait to show you, starting with Outbound. So let's go.
You just saw Outbound, Hurdling, Waxheads, and the Lonesome Guild, all part of the 2025 ID at Xbox Showcase.
Now let's get back to the video game, shall we? Now up next, we have a few things you've never seen before and some great content coming to games you probably already love.
But hey, enough teasing from us. Let's roll it.
Let the game begin.
How painfully human.
Taste the chains of despair. I'll burn you to the bone!
Should we just put some cards on the table?
You know what they say, the house always wins.
Looks like the joke's on us.
You know, just when I thought I couldn't possibly be more hooked on Balatro, they drop a collaboration I'm already obsessed with. That one was huge, but this next world premiere is gonna rock your world. Check it out.
Tonight on Behind the Curtain, we dive deep into one of the 90s most controversial bands.
It was beyond our wildest dreams.
Their music defined a generation.
What can I say, man? Artistic genius is a curse.
The man behind this meteoric rise, their notorious manager.
He drove from out of town to meet us. We were waiting at this bar.
We'll be paying this guy, so I want to know. What exactly will you do for us?
Plain and simple, I'll make you rich. You know why I'm here, lad? I'm here to f*** you over.
Make me stray, Pharaoh.
You're
Filthy rich, drowning in women, piss through it all.
Oh my God, Vernon! I know where this road leads, and it ain't nowhere pretty.
Looking for trouble? Effervescent, isn't it?
Ladies and gentlemen, rock and roll. So, I gotta ask, would you do anything differently?
What exactly will you do for us?
Mostly, I just try to stay out of your way.
That's it?
That was the world premiere and release date reveal for Rock Beast, and it looks like it absolutely rocks. You know, everybody knows that rock beats scissors, paper beats rock, and scissors beats paper, but a beast would probably just destroy all of them, let alone a rock beast.
You know, that's something I never had to think about until right now, but it's actually pretty true. So thanks for that information, Al. I appreciate it. All right, well, there's tons more IGN Xbox Showcase coming up right after this quick break, so please stick around.
Fan Fest is presented by Mega Break. Open beta available now on PC and Xbox with crossplay.
The average Cinefix movie list features nearly 100 different films and approximately 25 minutes worth of wall-to-wall deep dive analysis. To simulate that pace for this 30-second ad, we're featuring 26 different films, and before you say it, no, that math does not check out. We're not math people, we're movie people. We can't even count down from 10 without ending up at, like, 96. Subscribe to IGN Movies and TV for more Cinefix movie lists. Bad at math, great at movies.
Can't find that final collectible you're missing? IGN strategy guides and interactive maps are here to help.
One step at a time.
IGN guides are trusted by millions, easy to use, and best of all, free. IGN has the very best, most complete and accurate guides for Shadow of the Erdtree, Baldur's Gate 3, Tears of the Kingdom, and so much more.
See? It's good, right?
Every guide is tested and verified for you by experts. Just search for IGN when you search for guides.
IGN Plus is where your adventure begins.
What are you selling?
Plus is the place to get unlimited access to all the tools you need to beat your games.
Here's what you need to know for bringing down Gloomspawn.
Plus awesome exclusive discounts on IGN Store.
Maybe this would tease open your money pouch.
Plus ad-free browsing on IGN.com. Plus, unlimited game help tools like premium interactive maps with your own custom map markers, filters, marker notes, and more.
This will come in handy.
Plus, access to sweepstakes, giveaways, and free game keys.
Wow! Exactly.
Want more? Head to IGN.com/plus and start your adventure today.
Welcome back to IGN Xbox on IGN Fan Fest. Up next, 3 more games guaranteed to put a smile on your face, especially if you were fond of a certain rhythm-based strategy series that involved commanding an army of little creatures to the tune of a catchy soundtrack. Sound familiar? Here's a gameplay clip from the upcoming rhythm-based roguelike Ratatan.
We all keep our favorite moments close to us, somewhere safe. This box holds mine. Welcome to Widow. This is a cozy, story-driven game about my happiest memory, summer in the countryside. Let me show you. It's simple. Just drag each object to its place, assembling the story, piece by piece, cup to cup, cat to cat. One summer, I was sent to the countryside. You know, a place that's not marked on any map. I used to be such a city girl, always online, always busy. Spending my whole summer in a forsaken village? No thanks. But here I am, surrounded by a gang of geese, clearly thinking they're the biggest deal around here. But who had been feeding them so well? Perhaps a goose grandma who always says they're too skinny? I had to fight a sneaky goat every day from my own backpack, cheered on by the laughter of the tiny yellow goslings. And that's how the story starts. My first day in a sweet village, full of joy, friendly faces, and welcoming warmth from the locals. Lovely place. But, you know, everything changed when I met Ben.
That was Tempopo, Ratatan, and Widow. And honestly, saying those three very different game names in a row makes them sound like a roving band of like mischievous elves or three aliens in the very back of a Star Wars cantina.
You know what? You might be onto something with that one. Now, we're getting close to the finish line here today, but that doesn't mean we're out of surprises for you just yet. We've got lots more new games to show you, plus a huge update coming to one of the best games of the generation. All this and more as the 2025 IGN Xbox Showcase continues after this break.
Fan Fest is presented by War Robots Frontiers. Pre-register now for an exclusive reward.
The Cinefix Top 100. A list so secretive even we don't know what movies are on it or where they rank.
What do you mean you don't know?
Each episode will reveal one of the movies.
Did I rush it? Felt like I rushed. That was good. I liked it.
Talk about why it belongs and finally find out where it ranks.
Are you not entertained?
Are any of the movies we've shown here even on the list? I have no idea, and it drives me crazy. Join us as we find out on Cinefix, IGN, and wherever you get your podcasts.
Why so serious?
IGN Plus is where your adventure begins.
What are you selling?
Plus is the place to get unlimited access to all the tools you need to beat your games.
Here's what you need to know for bringing down Gloomspawn.
Plus awesome exclusive discounts on IGN Store.
Maybe this would tease open your money pouch.
Plus ad-free browsing on IGN.com. Plus, unlimited game help tools like premium interactive maps with your own custom map markers, filters, marker notes, and more.
This will come in handy.
Plus, access to sweepstakes, giveaways, and free game keys.
Wow!
Exactly.
Want more? Head to IGN.com/plus and start your adventure today.
Can't find that final collectible you're missing? IGN strategy guides and interactive maps are here to help.
One step at a time.
IGN guides are trusted by millions, easy to use, and best of all, free. IGN has the very best, most complete and accurate guides for Shadow of the Erdtree, Baldur's Gate 3, Tears of the Kingdom, and so much more.
See? It's good, right?
Every guide is tested and verified for you by experts. Just search for IGN when you search for guides.
Welcome back to the 2025 IGN Xbox Showcase right here on IGN's Fan Fest. Now up next, we've got a bunch of new game trailers to show you, so hey, instead of just teasing you and making you try to guess what we're gonna show you, we'll just cut to the chase and give you what you want. Take it away.
This is Pon. He's a tanuki. This summer, by order of the Tanuki god, Pon has to restore the great Tanuki shrine To do so, he needs to earn money. Pon takes on the role of a delivery tanuki, mixing hard work with stunting around town. It's a busy summer for Pon, but even tanuki need to rest now and then. This is Pon's Summer. We hope you'll enjoy the adventure together. Tanuki, Pon's Summer. Available on Xbox Game Pass later this year.
Cora, Beck, Tron. Every grid has its heroes. The Arc grid fractures into the glitch, but one program stands against that storm. Exo. You. A hero is nothing without their grid. Exo fights for hers, against those who would tear it apart. She must escape core, but escape is not enough. A loop cannot be broken without a change in conditions. Break the loop program.
That was Tanuki Pon's Summer, Descenders Next, Tron Catalyst, and 33 Immortals. A little something for everyone, and that's the truth. But hey, if the truth really isn't your thing, you probably love the 2023 action game Lies of P that turned the classic story of Pinocchio into a brutal steampunk horror world full of terrifying puppet monsters.
Yeah, but you know, 2023 was so long ago, so maybe you're asking yourself, when are we gonna get to go back to the world of Lies of P and experience a whole new adventure? Well, I'm glad you asked, because we have your answer right here and right now on the 2025 IGN Xbox Showcase. Take a look.
Listening to this song always reminds me of you. But now you belong to the past. Do you remember the time we all gathered to play this piece together? I never got to say farewell. I know it changed everything, but we endured. Perhaps someday, if we can cross the bounds of time, we'll meet again.
And there you have it, the exciting reveal of Lies of P Overture from the brilliantly talented team at NeoWiz. And that just about wraps us up here at the 2025 ID at Xbox Showcase here on IGN. And it was a blast.
Yeah, but wait, if you want even more fun for Xbox fans, stick around, because Unlocked is our weekly Xbox podcast here at IGN, and we've got a whole post-show coming your way with special guest Guy Richards, the head of ID at Xbox.
And believe it or not, the ID at Xbox Showcase is just day one of IGN Fan Fest, and we've got 4 full days of fantastic stuff just for you, starting at 10 a.m. Pacific time tomorrow, continuing each day all week long. And we'll have new looks at things like Mythic Quest, Daredevil Born Again, WWE 2K25, Alien Rogue Incursion, the new horror comedy The Monkey, and tons more. Check out IGN.com for the full schedule and IGN's YouTube channel for anything you might have missed.
But for now, thank you all so much for watching the ID at Xbox Showcase and celebrating all these fantastic game reveals with us at IGN. It's always an honor to partner with Xbox to help bring you the future of Xbox games. We'll see you again very soon.
Welcome to Podcast Unlocked. It is IGN's weekly Xbox show. You just watched the latest ID at Xbox Showcase presented by us, IGN, but also, of course, a whole bunch of cool developers and the ID at Xbox team at Microsoft. My name is Ryan McCaffrey joining you. This is officially episode 681 of Podcast Unlocked. And joining me, as always, Michael Hyam. Good to see you, sir.
Hi, thanks for having me every week, because you have to have me on every week now.
That's right. It's in the contract. It's done. I signed it in blood. There's nothing I can do about it now. You can go off the rails, and I'm stuck with you. Really, that's what it amounts to.
Say less.
Miranda Sanchez, I know you're still not feeling great, but just thank you for being here. I know it's been a bit of a tough road for you lately.
Yeah, this is one where I'll encourage you to watch the video, because I'll be doing a lot of movement, talking. I'm a bit of a frog. This is the best I could get my voice right now, so please bear with me. And I'm glad to be back, though. I missed y'all.
We missed you too, and hopefully your voice has regained its full strength here fairly soon. And then our special guest here, just next to me on the screen, is Guy Richards. He is the ID at Xbox director. Guy, thank you so much for hanging out with us here.
Hey, it's cool to be here. Big fan of the show. Been listening for years, drive to work, walking the dog, all that kind of thing. So, yeah, really excited to talk about some of the awesome games we've just seen.
Well, we've got plenty of them. I mean, I think there were 22, maybe, if I had my count correct, something like that. But I wanted to just kind of start real quick. If you could tell the audience, what does ID at Xbox director mean? Because I know, with us, we get the people that aren't in our world when we try to explain what it is we do, they'll be like, oh, so you play video games all day. And it's like, actually, no. But with you, I actually think I might be guilty of doing what other people do to me, because as the ID at Xbox director, my guess is you play video games all day and try to figure out which ones are a good fit for the ID at Xbox program. So in all seriousness, what sort of does your role encompass?
Yeah, I mean, definitely playing games is part of it, right? But there's a lot more to it than that. There's a lot of boring stuff that I guess goes on behind the scenes in terms of just trying to make it easier for independent developers to come to Xbox. Everything we do is centered around trying to empower independent developers to make the games that they want to build and ultimately reach a multi-platform audience through Xbox. So we're always looking at ways that we can make it easier for developers to find new players on console, PC, and cloud. So like all of the endpoints and devices that make up the Xbox ecosystem today. And yeah, part of that involves like looking at games early, trying to understand like what games are a great fit for some of the different initiatives that we've got. I'm here at DICE, so the conference in Vegas this week, so hanging out with some developers. So great opportunity to meet some of the existing partners that are on the program, looking at some of the games that they've got coming to Xbox, where maybe we might dive a little bit deeper in their go-to-market plans and give some feedback and look at ways that we can really partner together on all of their different marketing activities and the ways that they want to bring games to Xbox, as well as meeting like new studios that haven't shipped games on Xbox yet, and finding ways that we can help them bring those games to Xbox, so our Xbox fans can experience those games in the future too.
So by helping them out, I'm guessing that means in some cases funding. Is it in some cases maybe providing dev kits? Like, kind of, can you give a top level idea of sort of what that means when you're trying to help developers get games to market?
Yeah, so there's a whole host of things that we do, right? So getting access to dev kits, SDKs, technology, all the resources that studios need to build games is one part of it. And any developer that signs up for the ID at Xbox program, where we have more than 5,000 studios worldwide at the moment, they get access to like all the same level of like technology and kits that like any other studio worldwide does. We then provide a ton of resources and different teams to help studios go through the process of what's required to ship a game on Xbox. And we connect them with different experts as well, either through like one-to-one meetings where we're looking at the plans that studios have got for their games, or through different events tailored to help developers on different areas of like working with Xbox. So like the Xbox Store team will do kind of more like store-focused events where we'll go over like KPIs and best practices and all like the tips and tricks that like help you do like pre-orders and wish lists and like when to do trials, how to promote your game so you can like once the game's launched have like really sustained like commercial success on the platform, through to events that are more like technical focused as well in terms of like how to build a game for the Xbox ecosystem today and take advantage of some of those tools that are available that make the experience for players across console, PC, and cloud really seamless, like cross-save, cross-progression, and all these kind of things. So there's a whole host of things that we do in terms of like educating developers, giving them access to technology. And then we work really closely with some of the other programs at Xbox, like Xbox Game Pass. So there's a bunch of games today where they've got a partnership with us to bring their game to Game Pass. So there's like a funding element that's included there. And then we have some funding programs within the ID at Xbox team itself, like our developer acceleration program, where we're already supporting over 150 underrepresented creators that are getting either like port funding or prototype funding to kind of bring those ideas to the Xbox audience as well. So there's a ton more things that I didn't mention, and I've already mentioned lots. So there's just a huge amount of ways that we work with studios to make coming to Xbox easier.
It sounds like no 2 days are the same for you.
It's a fair thing to say. Yep.
I mean, I want to kind of ask something as well that I've been curious as I've gone to a lot of ID at Xbox events. I think GDC last year, I talked with the developers of Dungeons of Hinterberg, which was pretty big for ID at Xbox, and that showcase had so many different games from around the world, developers from around the world, and you get to support developers who might not have access to the same resources. I'm like connected to the Southeast Asian game development scene as well, and so I kind of understand the struggles that other regions have with gaining access outside of something like PC, itch.io, or Steam. So is there anything you could share in terms of how you approach finding developers to help support throughout the world? Because I've seen ID at Xbox do it, so I imagine that is something that you're constantly working on as well.
Yeah, so we have a global team of ID at Xbox people that are like out there working with studios. Like you mentioned, like Southeast Asia, there is a region that you're connected with. Like that's a really big focus area for us. Xbox has like a dedicated team out there with people in Thailand and Singapore, South Korea, working with studios in that region. And we just had the new DLC for Lies of P from NeoWitz, that are South Korean team.
Yep.
So we've got, some areas where we have really dedicated support, but a really like global team as well, making sure that we try and get good representation. And on our Indie Selects program, so like some of the dash coverage that we do monthly to celebrate indie games on Xbox, there's a whole South Korean creator channel which is live on the store at the moment. So again, it's not just about finding games in that in those types of regions, but the efforts really carry through like end to end at Xbox. So you're seeing like our marketing and our store teams like really leaning into the work that we're doing to discover more great games from those regions too.
And I have to imagine that the smallest dev teams you work with are one person. I imagine a lot of ID at Xbox creators are one person projects. But like, how far does it go the other way? Like, what's the largest teams that you work with?
It's pretty varied, right? So we definitely have studios which can be as small as one person, and then we get up to some of the world's like biggest independent developers that are in the regions of having like hundreds of people making games for them at the same time, right? And I think even if we look at the showcase today, like there's a great variety of content and different ways that games are coming to Xbox. There's studios that have worked with us before that are self-publishing. There's new studios. There's some of the industry's leading like independent publishers like Team 17 with titles in there. We're supporting up and coming publishers like Cult Games, which have got 2 games in the showcase. So there's lots of different types of studios, different ways that games can come to Xbox, and we really work to provide the flexibility for whatever way like a game wants to come to Xbox. We can support it.
Now, sorry, Miranda, please go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I think one of the things I appreciate most, as we saw in the presentation, is that you guys always do such a great job of selecting such a wide variety of kinds of games too, and really championing, I think, games for all ages as well, which is kind of a big thing. I don't have kids, but I was a kid once, and know like having been a kid, like looking at Xbox, so I was like, oh, that's like the adult machine. But I think with ID at Xbox, I've seen more and more games that are a little bit more kid-friendly come to Xbox and be like really championed in a way and very visible, that I think is really important to make it feel a little bit more welcoming to all kinds of people who want to play all kinds of games.
Yeah, definitely. Like we want to make sure there's a game for everyone and an audience for every game, right? And like we can't always predict like what the size of that audience is going to be, but it's really important to us that every developer has an equal shot of reaching that audience and having success on the platform. So yeah, I'm just seeing the video for Tempopo rolling at the moment, and like something like this, right? Like really accessible. Like really looking forward to playing this one.
Yeah, it's so cute, but also still complex enough to be like, oh, like there's some sort of puzzle element to it and like creativity. And I think those are the really special games to find. And I think without, you guys being able to help champion them, it's kind of hard to find them. So I love ID at Xbox, so.
Also, I was going to say, like, the music too on this one, like, once you listen to it, you just can't get it out of your head. It's so catchy. You just feel like humming it all day.
To follow up on Miranda's point, I'm curious, is there a conscious, active curation that goes on where, like, do you take notice of, oh, we're signing a lot of deck building roguelites. But not very many of physics puzzle platformers. Let's look at some, or is it more just kind of whatever the developers are submitting? I'm just sort of curious how you approach it in terms of the curation for the program.
Yeah, so for the program all up, we're really broad in the approach, right? It's like, we want every developer to be able to bring their game to Xbox. And if that means that we end up with, like 10 puzzle games in a specific like genre and theme, then like that's cool, right? Because we're like opening up the platform for like those developers to be creative and all have an equal shot at reaching an audience. I think when we start to look at some of the initiatives, like a showcase like this, or some of the other showcases that we do throughout the year, or the way that we work really closely with the Game Pass team to select which content's coming into the subscription service, then I think we start to think about some of those things, right? Like how many games have we got in a specific genre? Are there some gaps in the portfolio that we want to lean into at any specific moments in time? So, depending on the initiative, depending on like how we're talking to developers, we can think about it in different ways.
Well, we've got a ton of games to dive into. I guess we can leave you alone for a little bit. We'll pepper you with questions as we go, but let's talk about these games that we just saw in this showcase. I'm going to selfishly just pull the host card and start with my favorite game of this whole thing, which I knew was going to be my favorite going in. Not that there weren't other cool ones, but it's because I've already played this game. I played it a year ago, did a preview. I sat down knowing nothing about it at GDC last year. It blew me away, did a preview, and that preview totally blew up. So everybody else thought it was super cool, and that's Jump Ship. So can you... Guy, before I want to get some impressions of Jump Ship from Miranda and Michael as well. But first, Guy, can you talk a little bit about working with the team there? You talked about various team sizes. I think they said they're like 10 or 12 people right now. But can you you talk about like meeting them and seeing their game for the first time?
Yeah, so it's a 10-person team from Sweden. The co-founders, Daniel and Philip, both come from, or Daniel comes from Coffee Stain and Mojang, and Philip from Hazelight. So, like, we've known the team for a long time before. In fact, I've worked with Daniel when I first joined Xbox, helping to bring Deep Rock Galactic to Xbox when he was at Coffee Stain. So we go a long way back. And like when they first started the studio, they started sending us some gifts of the game whilst it was early in development, and we just looked awesome. So we wanted to find a way to help them bring the game to Xbox. I think ever since we first tried the game, we realized how ambitious the project was for a team of that size, and I think that you can see that in the video today. And the Nordics as a region, I think, has such a strong heritage in co-op experiences. If you look at some of the games again, like the games from Hazelight, It Takes Two, with games like Dark Tide and Payday, all coming from Swedish developers that really lean into co-op experiences. And I think this is just them taking it's their take on what the region is really, really strong at. It's got Sea of Thieves vibes in it. So yeah, it's one we're super excited about.
Michael, what'd you think of this one?
I think there's a pretty big appetite for pineapple pizza, Ryan. So you need to watch what you say about it on your notes over here. I'm looking at it. But I also think there's an appetite for this kind of game. I mean, there's, co-op experiences are always welcome around these parts, of course. But I think in the advent of something like Helldivers, I think having a lighthearted experience that is also intense in a way, because that game is not necessarily easy to jump into, or it's easy to jump into, but you really got to be on top of things. And I'm getting some of that impression looking at Jump Ship. And I know that you've played it, Ryan, and kind of likened it to Left 4 Dead in space with a few other elements on top of that. But when I talk to you about it, and when I look at this, it's it seems like it's a very focused game, even though it seems like it has a lot going on. It's, you focus on one core element, and it's that chaotic co-op shooting experience and then you layer things on top. So it looks like something that is going to be really fun and easy to jump into, that is also not too heavy, because big budget games nowadays, they have to layer a lot of things on top, and sometimes there's a big learning curve that comes with that. But I look at Jump Ship and I'm oh, I know what that game is about. I know what I'm supposed to do. So just give me it and we'll figure it out. So I think it's nice to see that something on this level be included with ID at Xbox. You have the deck builders, you have the isometric action games, you have the Metroidvania style side scrollers too. But then you also get a full-on co-op shooter alongside all of those. So that speaks to the variety and also, yeah, the level of production value that you get from different games as well.
Miranda, I know that you love playing co-op action games with friends, with family members. How did Jump Ship resonate with you when you took a look at it here?
First, Hawaiian pizza's great.
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say. I think it's delicious. It's great. You can find some like really great slices out there. Yeah. Hey, yeah. Sorry, Ryan. You're the odd one out here. You're not on the team here.
I'm sorry. I have to rethink these relationships on this podcast.
We're gonna make you make the pizza now, or no? We'll make you one of the best pizzas in this. That's what we'll do. But no, as you're saying, I really like playing these sorts of like kind of chaos games that are like really fun and goofy with my family and a different group of friends. So I was looking at this, and I've been really into content warning with my siblings, and it's also just very like frantic, goofy, weird. Like there's just like a lot going on, but this is obviously on a very different scale. And I was like, man, we're gonna play the heck out of this. Like this is gonna be so much fun. And I think the fact that it's coming out for early access in summer too is just perfect. Like this is the perfect summer game.
Yes.
Like I just want to dive in. We're gonna get the pizza. Everyone's gonna have a pizza, and we're gonna just sit back and have a great time and just laugh at each other. And I think what I've really liked about games like this and how they sort of promote their games versus some other like more stressful co-op PvE games is how funny they are, but they're not doing like the fake voice chat weirdness. That can sometimes come across a little bit better, and like you can tell they're trying to like crack jokes, but it lands a little weird. But this one, it's all about like just the presence of how they've put together this game, and I think that speaks like so loudly. And so I think that's just something I'm really excited for too.
Yeah, our producer Ty, I don't know if we want to pull up my preview from last year and roll that as some other. I mean, granted, it's year-old footage, but yeah, just like for those that if it, I mean, I think the trailer does a pretty good job of conveying. But if you hadn't seen my preview from last year, or you're not familiar with this, it really is. It's very much Sea of Thieves-y, but then the ground elements when you leave the ship are kind of are pretty Left 4 Dead. You got some FTL in there. So the four of you you're piloting, you are manning, you are upgrading, you are repairing your ship as one of you is flying it around, and you just go to different planets and you go and land on surfaces and do different things. You got a quick glimpse in there in the trailer of space combat as well. Like there's just a really easy, natural co-op mechanic to this, which I think is one reason that it resonated with me so well. Guy, when I know you mentioned that when you first started talking to these guys, they're sending you GIFs obviously over email, so you just get a quick little sample. But when they actually sent you a build for the first time and you played this for the first time, had you already signed them at that point, or is that like you play it and then you instantly go, I need to sign these guys right now?
Yeah, so we run a playtest with the team. I think sometimes developers send us a build and we can just jump in our own time to check it out. But yeah, with this one, like the team arranged a playtest with us. It was pretty early, right? So it was helpful having them there to guide us through the experience. But yeah, just like we had so much fun with it. The coordination that's involved between like you and all your teammates on this one, I think creates for some really emergent gameplay situations, because you've all got your like different tasks and role and jobs that you need to do, like while you're like flying the ship, and like somebody's like manning the gunner, like all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that was really fun.
And what I love about this game too is it's not like a job where you just have to play it every night or you're going to fall behind. Like you can just jump in with your friends anytime you want.
What a relief.
Have a good time. Yes. Yeah. So, yeah, Miranda, you mentioned great point about summer for the early access on this. That is the perfect time. And quite frankly, that might be the only time that this game has a chance to get noticed this year with how busy it is. But yeah, so I highly recommend people sign up for that closed beta, which was mentioned at the end of the new trailer in this showcase. The URL was there. It was jumpshipgame.com. So do take a look at that. Michael Hyam, which game from this showcase we just watched should we jump to next?
Ooh, maybe it's not the one that will. Well, actually, I think this one will jump out visually. Is Blueprints. Blueprints, as in like royalty, but you're messing around with a house and messing around with layouts. It's like a puzzle game. Blueprints has really caught my eye. I think I've heard of it beforehand, but I think this was the most that we saw of it. This game looks pretty sick. I mean, you have the notes that it has like a Telltale style like art design to it, but something like this where you like really manipulate a 3D space and you choose like all these different rooms, you go through them, and so there's a lot of like puzzle elements to this, and then just going around this creepy house solving these mind-bending puzzles and how the rooms change from one to another. Like, this is an example of, I think, the variety that you get and the creativity that you get from games that are more focused on a smaller scale that ID at Xbox showcases. So yeah, is there anything more that you could tell us about Blueprints and like the journey in showcasing it here? And is there anything behind the scenes that we might not get from the trailer that we should know? It's coming soon for April 10th as well. So yeah, I just kind of want to know a little bit more about what I'd be getting into with this one.
Yeah, I mean, you did a great job at explaining the game there. I think one of the really unique things here is about like how you can manipulate the house and all the rooms in the house change, creating for different journeys through the game. The publisher Raw Fury is a partner of Xbox that we've been working very closely with since they first like set themselves up as a publisher. Must have been about over 10 years ago now. We worked really closely on some of their first games, like Kingdom 2 Crowns coming to Xbox as well. And yeah, Blueprints looks awesome. I think some of the demos have been really popular. It's got like a lot of anticipation from fans already across the industry. And looking forward to playing this game day one when it comes to Xbox Game Pass. And yeah, it's awesome that they're able to be in a position to finally announce the release date as well.
Sweet.
And it looks like it's probably not spooky, because I know Miranda's not. If it's spooky, she's out, I think.
No, it depends on the spooky. If it's like violent spooky, maybe that's fine. Maybe if it's like, these guys are creepy, but they're my best friends, like, that's fine. But if it's like jump scare, no. But this is great. Gothic, puzzly, beautifully moody. That's what I want.
Yeah.
How much have you played so far?
I've played a demo build. Probably played about 20-30 minutes of it myself personally, but I know people in the team have played a ton of it already. Yeah, I would say this is more like a bit like spooky and mysterious versus like jump scare and all that kind of stuff. So should be good for you, Miranda.
Excellent. Miranda, which game should we jump to next? What do we want to talk about next from this showcase?
It's really hard. I have I take a lot of, someone said, oh, you just look at your phone. I'm like, no, I'm looking at my notes. I have written notes by hand for every episode. Anyway, I would say the next one would be Tanuki Pond Summer.
Oh, so cute.
I love it. There's so many I loved in this, and I was like, that one.
Jumps out at you, Miranda. Not to make you talk too much here.
Yeah,
but.
Sorry, I needed a little break there. But obviously the animation in this is just gorgeous, and of course, like the animation special scenes are a little bit different from the gameplay, which also just reminds me of Katamari, like just like the vibes and the look of this town. I also, again, I think what I'm looking for here are just like interesting, lighthearted and goofy things where you're like doing, shred. It's so funny. You're just doing crazy tricks trying to deliver stuff as a little Tanuki, and it's also featured in this trailer like some like little mini games you're gonna play, as we see right now. If you're watching, you do some like baseball, and then you're also gonna, that could also just be a quick thing, but then there's some funny sumo stuff going on. Like I love like a good mini game embedded into like a larger adventure, and this kind of reminded me a little bit of Little Kitty Big City in a way, of how like there's something you have to do, but there's just so much to explore, and even then it's like a really like a bite-sized experience in that exploration, so you still feel like you have that freedom to find weird and cool things and little mysteries, but not be overwhelmed because it's not massive. And I think that's that's something I want. So even though it's like a late 2025, which is going to be, we don't have a lot of like definitive dates, but you know, knowing that it's going to be a pretty busy end of the year, this is one that I put a pin in. I'm like, I'm going to find you. I'm going to find you in that wave of massive games coming out, because this is what I want to play. It's very cute.
Yeah, this looked like a more interesting package delivery game to me than, say, Death Stranding. Oh,
hey.
Death Stranding taking some shots now.
I like Death Stranding too.
I
like delivering packages. What can I say?
This is absolutely adorable, and yeah, it's clearly like a no stress game too, which I think is just nice when you're playing a bunch of deep RPGs and dramas. Like right now, I'm in the middle of Avowed, which we're going to talk about, or we talked about on last episode. So yeah, this would be a nice palate cleanser. Like look how fun and adorable this game is. Mr. Hyam, your reactions on this one?
This is my kind of thing. I love cute. The thing too, like Miranda said, this is Dave Mirra's BMX on top of a bunch of mini games, on top of being cute, on top of being a package delivery game. So I guess I'm just curious, Guy, like how do all these, if you could speak to it, how do all these seemingly disparate elements come together for this game? Like in what context am I playing baseball and then sumo wrestling and then doing a bunch of tricks on my bike to deliver things? Not that I'm complaining about it, but I'm just curious how it all fits together.
Yeah, so the kind of like overall story arch for the game is, so you're a raccoon delivery driver, going around on your bike on the village, but your goal is to earn money to effectively like restore the great Tanuki god shrine in the village. So you'll see that you'll do the bikes and the tricks to help you get around the village. There's like mini games that you'll discover on that journey as well. Yeah, this one's just really charming. Like just see the artwork, you see the game. It just looks like something which just really chill and wholesome to play. So yeah, we fell in love with this one pretty early.
Chill and awesome and stress-free and charm. Those are all things. I feel like the older I get, the more I value those things in games. Maybe it's just because it's nice escapism sometimes. But yeah, this one looks great. So super cool that it's launching straight into Game Pass towards the end of the year here. All right, Guy, you're our special guest this week. I want to give you the next choice. Which game from our showcase shall we talk a little bit about next?
Descenders Next would be a fun one to chat about. So it's the sequel to Descenders from Rage Squid in the Netherlands. And the previous game, Descenders, we had a really close relationship with them on that one. So that game launched into game preview. So they did early access on Xbox. So they wanted to build that game with getting community feedback. And then when it left game preview, it launched into Xbox Game Pass on day one. And it was actually the first time like we had done that at Xbox with one of our partners. So that was like a pretty big thing. Like we worked closely with Mike Rose and the team, the publishing team at No More Robots to talk about how that could work and see if they were interested in it. And like they were really, really keen to do it. That influx of players that the game got day one, like really like accelerated the growth of that game, not just on Xbox, but like across the whole industry as well. And, Mike and the team have been really, really vocal about that. So with Descenders Next, like it's got more extreme sports. There's the dirt boarding. They've got snowboarding in there as well. It just looks like really epic, and it's great to see the team like adding like more real-time multiplayer into it as well. So yeah, that's going to come to Game Pass day one on April the 9th, and it just feels like one of those really like arcadey pick up and play games that you can jump in with your friends. I've sunk a lot of time into the first one, but it's also the type of experience that I'll like jump into in between playing like big RPGs and that kind of thing, because you can just do a couple of runs and try and beat your friends' times on those runs. So yeah, this one is one that I'm really looking forward to playing when it comes out.
Yeah, I really like, this is like a weird thing to point out maybe, but the what appears to be the gameplay camera angle, like it feels like the camera's a little low. Maybe it's just for the trailer and it's just a cinematic thing and the game's not actually like this, but I hope it is, because I really like this kind of slightly lower angle that a lot of these shots have. But yeah, this looks super just approachable, super pick up and play. good times. And it's right around the corner. This game's out in like a month and a half. It's less than 2 months from now. So yeah, good stuff. All right. Well, we should go back. The game we kicked off with, Revenge of the Savage Planet. This one, ton of charm. We'll pull this video up here in a second, but you've got physics-based, goofy comedy, survival, exploration. You can spray a bunch of stuff on a bunch of different space animals. You got multiplayer. You can manipulate the game world. Very colorful. You mentioned charm, Guy, and this to me, it certainly oozes charm right out of the screen. I mean, it just seems, again, like a pretty lighthearted, stress-free, could be fun. This game I could see being fun to just get online with your friends in there and just chat, just catch up with your friends without any real stress or even competition necessarily. So can you kind of talk a little bit more about Revenge of the Savage Planet here, Guy?
Yeah, so this is just one of those games where I think it's the type of experience you want to jump into with your friends and goof around for a bit. So I think you did a great job of describing it there. And the first game did a great job coming to Game Pass. It did really well in the service. It had a ton of players. So yeah, I think there's a big audience for this one on Xbox based on the people that played the previous one. So yeah, it's going to come out. I think did they say May the 8th in the trailer? So not too long to wait for this one.
Yeah, it's quite different from Journey of the Savage Planet. I mean, visually, conceptually, it looks very similar to Journey, but it is actually quite different. So, I mean, can you speak to sort of the transitions that they've made from the first game to this one, where the first game was more of like a almost felt like a Metroid Prime, where it's more of like a exploration, like a progression sort of single player experience, to something that's quite different in scope and scale and sort of direction?
Yeah, yes, there's definitely a lot more that they're bringing to this game. I think compared to the first game, there's just so many more options for players. There's more tools, more variety of play styles that they can have in it. Yeah, it's really awesome to see. I think the studio just continue to build on that first game. I think there's some areas that are familiar, but yeah, they're definitely taking it in a new bold direction as well.
Cool. Yeah, one of my favorite things about Journey also at the time was that it was a satire of corporate life and capitalistic systems, and taking a goofy approach to poking at those things as well. But I think in the world we live in nowadays, you look back on Journey and be like, maybe it's not so satirical anymore. And I hope that they kind of lean into that direction even harder. Is there anything you could share in terms of the story that is surrounding Revenge compared to Journey?
Not at this stage. I think I've only played a short amount of this one, so it's one that I'm looking forward to playing a lot when it comes out. But yeah, it's definitely got that goofy charm that the first one has. So that's something that I'm excited about.
Cool.
Miranda, which of these adorable animals in the trailer, these space animals, is the cutest one?
Probably the first one they show that they goo. It's really funny. Not you'd probably expect the small fluffy one with the big eyes. Not that one. Not the first one. It's a little. The eyes are too big. I'm glad we explode it. It's good. But no, this trailer is fantastic. It's so funny. It's such a great way to start the showcase.
Absolutely. Guy, you mentioned when you were talking about this one that the first one saw a lot of success on Game Pass. To kind of take a quick mini tangent here before we get back to talking about the rest of the games, I'm curious, what does that mean in the sense of, because in the pre-Game Pass traditional historical gaming model, it's just how many copies did it sell? But with Game Pass, where you can buy a game in Game Pass for a discount, and I'm sure that's one of the metrics you look at, but when you say it did well in Game Pass, talking about Journey to the Savage Planet, does that mean, is it like a Netflix thing where it's one of the more played games in ID at Xbox on Game Pass? Or I know you can't speak to specific numbers, but can you speak maybe a little bit to holistically how you look at and measure success when it comes to the ID at Xbox program, and maybe specifically as it pertains to Game Pass?
Yeah, I think it's important to note that success can look different for any game and any developer, whether that's on Xbox or in Game Pass as well, right? So, if you take a game like Journey to the Savage Planet, you can look at like how many people played the game in Game Pass, like how long they played it for, like the sort of like player behaviors whilst the game was in the service as well, right? Like how often they came back and played it, like all these types of things, right? So there's a ton of different metrics that we can consider towards that. But yeah, like different games have like different ways to be successful on the platform and in Game Pass. Like we're just looking at like the Tanuki, right? Yeah. I think it's awesome that people can like jump into that game. It acts like a palate cleanser. I think that having that game in the service alongside like Xbox's first party titles as well, right? There's like a ton of different roles that content can have in providing the depth and breadth of experiences that makes for like a really awesome like quality catalog of content. So yeah, like success could look different for different developers, and the first one did really well. We're really happy with the amount of fans it had on Xbox and with Game Pass, and that definitely contributes towards us wanting to work again on the sequel, right?
Good stuff. Miranda, back to you. Which game would you like to talk about next of the many, many games in this showcase?
Outbound, which is obviously such a me game. Speaking of other like kind of comfortable, fun games, palette cleansers, sometimes as far as palette cleansers go, I'll actually look for games that have like super short experiences as well that I can play in between. Say like if I have like 4 hours of meetings, I'm like, I just need to like rinse out my brain. This is not quite that, but I think I look for like other sorts of cozy games, whether it's like after a really long day or something. And this one just feels like it's got the customization. It's obviously got this like cute camper. I can't tell you how many like there's a lot of cute camper videos on YouTube, guys. People restore their campers and make really cool things. And now you can do this and make a little greenhouse on top, which is even better. So this was just immensely my vibe. I was like, yeah, this is a Miranda game through and through.
I'm so glad you mentioned this one, because this is actually the one that I was going to bring up next when it came back around to my turn. So I'm really glad you mentioned it, because to me, number one for me here, the thing that draws me in right off the bat is the art style, because it's a little Firewatchy, and maybe part of that's the setting too, right? Like
I thought of that too. It's like the pleasant Firewatch.
But yeah, it's like instead of being Firewatch, but instead of being the lookout, you're just a citizen coming to camp in the national park in your camper van. But yeah, it's just, I love the art style. And as you said, it's just, oh yeah, look at our mega producer Tayo bringing it with that Firewatch footage right away. Man, I miss that game. What a great one-off that ended up being. But hey, those guys went on to contribute to Half-Life Alyx, so I can't really complain. But yes, Outbound just seems like you can just sink yourself in it for 10 minutes or an hour or 4 hours or however much you really want to. Michael Hyam, you gonna lose yourself in this one from time to time?
Maybe. I mean, I tend to be in the mood to attack and dethrone God in my RPGs, but I do like to take my breaks and have games where I'm not trying to be as powerful as a god. But which is going to tie to another game I want to talk about. But there is something nice about having something like I really liked Unpacking, which I was surprised by. Like I saw it, and I'm like, I don't know if that's for me. I'm gonna give it a shot. And then, a couple hours later, I'm like, oh, this is actually starting to like be a very tranquil experience. And a lot of people get that sort of thing from like an Animal Crossing or like a power wash simulator. So there is something valuable about having that stress-free experience, even though building out your camper might seem like work, but there is something nice to creating your own space and making it yours. And I feel like there are a lot of games that have elements of that. Even something like Starfield, where there's an element where you're like building your own base on a planet somewhere else. There was like, instead of going down these side quests where I'm trying to hunt down some evil corporate goon or whatever, I could go to a planet and just start building my own space, my own camp. And there's something very, very valuable about that experience. And if a game like dedicates itself to that specific sort of thing, like Outbound, it seems, there's an appetite for this sort of game too, whether it be someone's palate cleanser or the type of thing that they want to get into specifically. So it's always nice to see more and more games like this, because with each one, none of these games are one-to-one copying each other, right? Games don't, like, developers don't do that, but they do take inspiration, and on top of that, they do their own unique thing on top of that. So that's how you get innovation in mechanics, and like they might be similar in taste and in look, but I think through that you get a lot more interesting mechanics. Or they're trying to mix things up with building, with crafting, planting your own like vegetables and stuff, and like I don't know if there's like a survival element to it, but there's always iteration, there's always innovation on top of what we've already had. So the more and more games I see like this, I think that the more variety that you'll get, and you'll see the genre being pushed forward as well.
I'm very happy and proud to say that IGN exclusively revealed this game about a year ago, and everybody took to it right away. Like, it did almost 500,000 views for the announcement trailer on our channel, which for a game, you know, an independent game that no one's ever heard of before, that's pretty darn impressive. So, Guy, when you first get wind of this, like, I don't know if you sought them out or they sought you out, or you'd seen something online and reached out, like, how important is that sort of first, like, that first impression, both for you and then trying to think about it as when the game actually comes out?
Yeah. So we've been chatting to the team for quite a time on this one. And I think this is the first time we've like actively been able to talk about the game coming to Xbox, which is really exciting. And like we have these conversations like all the time with independent developers about, hey, when's the best time and best way to like release and announce your game? I think this is a situation where like we love the game since the moment we saw it before it was announced, but like them partnering with you on the exclusive announcement and the anticipation that's been able to create for the game, like we pick up on that as well, right? Like we're following like reactions to game in the media and from players as well. So yeah, like it's definitely something that we keep an eye on. So I'm really looking forward to this one. Like I play a ton of survival games, so like Valheim and Ark Survival are like some of my favorite games of like all time for sinking hours into. And whilst this game doesn't have like the survival elements, it's got that like open world exploration and the crafting piece. So it's almost like the like go in, like design, craft, build your camper van. It's like the kind of like most relaxing parts of those games without the stress. So yeah, this one I think is one I'll definitely be playing a lot of.
Michael, throw a game out. What do you got?
I was talking about attacking and dethroning gods. So the one game I'm curious about now that I've seen it multiple times, is 33 Immortals, which I first played during the summer of 2023, I believe.
Yep, me too. I was there as well.
You were in that room. I remember that because I was like, oh, that's Ryan McCaffrey. He doesn't know me, but I know him. We played that game together.
We did.
Unknowingly, I guess.
And Destin was there as well.
Oh, yeah. Because we went through like that theater, and then they took us in a back room. We went through a hallway, and there's like, boom, here's 33 Immortals. Or then there's like other games on top of that. But I remember playing it in its early build, because I think like Hades was still like very much in the conversation about like action games, roguelikes. But this, 33 Immortals is like so heavily emphasizes co-op. And that was a really fun twist on something that felt familiar at the time. But that was 2 years ago. So I just kind of want to get an idea of the progress that team has made, and some of the things they were able to really hone in on in the time since we last played this game.
Guy, can you speak to that at all? It's been a long road on this one. Like where, it's been in the public eye. I mean, I'm sure you work with developers for many, many years before a game sees the light of day all the time, but this is one where they've been showing it, they've been iterating on it. So kind of what's the process for kind of finding that balance between like, all right, we want to keep supporting you guys, but like, but all right, now we want to crank up the hype machine on this. Like this is now going into early access in a month.
Yeah, I mean, we're really led by the developer on this one. So Thunder Lotus have been great partners of Xbox for many, many years, going back to when we had Spiritfarer on stage with us at E3. Like, we'll always remember that game because it was the game after the Keanu Reeves "You're Beautiful" moment. Yeah. So I think like us and the team will always remember that. Yeah, like 33 Immortals, I think we announced that at our Xbox Games Summer Showcase 2 years ago now. So yeah, we really we're developer led in terms of how much time they need to finish and make the game and realize their vision. Like, we're here to empower and support them and not get in the way. But when they're ready to talk about the game, when they're ready to lock in on a release date, they're making sure that they've got all the support that they need to hit that date and shout about the game as well. Yeah, this was just really ambitious, right? Going from single player experiences in the past up into 33 player co-op, that's ambitious. And, I'm sure that it takes a little bit of time to make sure you get that right.
I will say, and Michael, I'm sure you'd agree, even the 2 years ago, the 2-year-old build was super fun. This game, there is definitely something here. And just my first reaction, I think the first thing I wrote down in my notes as I was watching this trailer for the first time is it's you can see it right on the screen. It looks way more done than not that it looked raw or unfinished 2 years ago, but it's just, you can tell it's been polished up a lot.
We saw a really specific slice of it at the time, and for me, I'm like, oh, okay, it feels feature complete. But from this trailer, it's there's so much more than those wherever we were, in the depths of hell or whatever, that specific environment that we played through for the demo build. It's there's so much more on top of that, and so it's oh, okay, yeah, we're seeing a lot of the similar stuff that we played in that early build, but on a bigger scale. Seeing 33 player co-op, I think we only had about 6 or 7 people, which is still pretty wild for a co-op game. Usually think of 4 players max, right? So yeah, it feels like that. Oh, okay, this is the full extension of the idea of the game starting to come together in full scale. And so and it being early access too, I think there's just a lot of benefit for this style of game. There's a lot of benefit in going into early access. I mean, I mentioned Hades, of course, and that game was built off the back of continually iterating through an early access program. And something like Game Pass, it feels like it gives them the room to kind of, based on community feedback, based on extra ideas that they weren't able to put in the early access build, games like this have a lot of room to evolve, even when the core idea is already strong.
And Guy, I would have to imagine that this one's going into Game Pass, and that it not only, I'm sure it'll make business sense sometimes. Maybe sometimes it doesn't make business sense for one side or the other to go Game Pass. But with this one, it probably makes a lot of sense for the game, completely independent of the business side of things, because it's 33 players. So by going into Game Pass, you're really making it very easy for anyone to jump in and have that larger pool of players to link up with when you get online.
Yeah, we make sure every developer feels happy about coming to Game Pass and what that looks like for them. And I think this is an example of a game where it makes a ton of sense to have an injection of that Game Pass community where we have 34 million subscribers, and however many of them want to go in and play the game day one. I think it's going to be really beneficial for a game that's got 33 player co-op. You don't see too many of those. So.
Well, as we're running out of time here, the last game that I want to talk about is probably the most Ryan game in the showcase, which is Herdling. Herdling for me, and I see Miranda's yep, that's you. You've got a beautiful art style, you've got no dialogue, you've got emotion conveyed through a nonverbal story, you've got puzzles, you've got animals to adore. This just looks exactly like my kind of jam. It's probably 4 to 6 hours long. It's just it's going to tell some beautiful story, I'm sure. Guy, can you talk about finding this one and linking up with the developers here, and if you've had a chance to, I don't know if you've had a chance to play this one yet, or what you've seen of it beyond this trailer, if you can kind of talk about your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, I've not had a chance to play this one yet, but I've seen a bunch of videos and materials internally on it. just feels really unique, right? Like going on that like epic adventure whilst you're herding these creatures that I haven't quite worked out what they are yet, but they look pretty cool, and I want to learn more about them. So they've announced a release date for this one, that it's coming to Xbox. I think we've got a wish list available for it on the store as well, so people should definitely go and check that if they're interested in the game to make sure they continue to learn more about it.
Miranda, you must have a comment on this adorable game.
They're so cute. I can't get over it. And then they already teased in the trailer that stuff is gonna happen to them, and I'm like, oh, just protect them.
Oh, you're saving them from the grimy city life and realizing that you deserve to be out in nature, free from screens and electronics, which is a good message, I think.
Yeah, get outside, kids.
Yes.
It's cute. I really like it.
There were too many good games in this showcase. I hope everybody enjoyed it. We have come to the end here of Podcast Unlocked. Episode 681, Guy Richards, director at ID at Xbox. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us and put this showcase together with us. Love that all these games just keep coming. As Miranda said, all these very diverse games. There's games for everybody in here. And we at IGN are really proud and grateful to be able to show off 20-something of them here over the course of that showcase. So, Guy, thank you. Miranda, Michael, and our awesome producer, Tayo. This was Podcast Unlocked, episode 681, and we'll see you back here next week.
Hey there, friends, don't go anywhere. Coming up, we've got a look at Ultimate Sheep Raccoon, the follow-up to Ultimate Chicken Horse from Clever Endeavor Games, a studio that seems determined to make cartoon versions of the entire animal kingdom fight to the death in ridiculously slapstick ways. It's a very specific goal, but we support it. Check it out.
You're watching IGN Fan Fest. 2016's Ultimate Chicken Horse was a fantastic party platforming game that was only missing one thing, even weirder animals. Here to tell us all about the follow-up, Ultimate Sheep Raccoon, is Richard Atlas, Fabio Grisi, Austin Jobry, and Ed Brazil from Clever Endeavor Games. Welcome, everyone.
Welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
So, Ultimate Sheep Raccoon is the follow-up to Ultimate Chicken Horse, but for anyone who's unfamiliar with these games, what are these games all about?
So Ultimate Chicken Horse at first is a party platformer where you build the level while you play. So you place things in the level and then run across to the end, and your goal is to make it hard enough for everybody else but easy enough for you. And that was this game, as you mentioned, that came out 2016. We've had great success with that game, and this is the next rendition. So you're racing bikes across the screen, but you're also placing traps and obstacles in the way to mess with your friends. But everybody's got to run through the same race. So every time you try and screw your friends over, you're also screwing yourself over.
Who gets to place traps? How is that determined?
Everybody.
Everyone.
So everybody places traps. Everybody runs through.
Okay. So it's fair. Everyone's playing fair. Do you have to have played Ultimate Chicken Horse to understand what's going on in Ultimate Sheep Raccoon?
No, definitely not. It feels different. In one of them, you're running around, you're sprinting, you're wall jumping. That's Ultimate Chicken Horse. In this one, you're racing your bike, you're angling yourself back and forwards, you're going off ramps, you're doing backflips. It's a different kind of style, even though the core of placing a thing and then running through the level is the same kind of loop.
So when you launched Ultimate Chicken Horse 8 years ago, did you ever fathom it would take off as much as it did?
We never thought or knew that it was going to take off like it did. At each step of the way, we were kind of showing the game to small groups and getting good feedback, and then showing the game to slightly larger groups and getting more feedback. And at each step of the way, we were kind of like, well, if this works, we'll keep working on it. And I think that was really key to actually making the game as good as it was. So by the time it came out, it had gone through all that vetting process. We weren't just like, oh, we're going to build a thing for a year and a half and then launch it, and it's going to be great,
So in Ultimate Sheep Raccoon, I think there are both power-ups and traps available. What are some examples of some fun tools that we have available to us?
Yeah, so new from the previous game are power-ups. So those allow you to kind of build up your arsenal of abilities other people don't have. You can do things like slow down your opponents with like honey that you can throw on the floor, or there's things like passive boosts to your speed or to jumping, or active things like an actual like soda pop can that launches you forward and can give you a boost out of a bad situation. For traps and hazards, it's a lot of similar things from last time, like things like just a spiky ball that's just in the wrong place at the wrong time, or other things that are new to the game, like zones for going faster or for jumping over obstacles and stuff.
So this time around, chicken and horse are joined by sheep and raccoon. Do these characters play differently from each other, or are they cosmetic skins?
So to make sure that it stays fair for everybody, we make sure that all the characters play the same, even though they look different. And while Chicken and Horse got the main title for the first game, we wanted to give characters 3 and 4 the limelight for this one. So that's why this one's Sheep Raccoon.
The game's going to be cross-platform. Is that correct?
Yes, that is the plan. Yeah, we're still pretty early in development, as you'll see with the gameplay footage. But the plan is to have it cross-platform across all consoles, PC, etc.
All right, well, talking about animals beating each other up is fun, but actually making it happen ourselves sounds even better. So here to do just that are my IGN friends, Jobert, Luis, and Nick. Let's play some Ultimate Sheep Raccoon. Okay. So what is this level? What do we need to know about this one?
This is Scrapyard.
Okay.
This is Scrapyard. We'll get into the level. First thing is choosing your blocks. So a pop-up is going to show up, and you can choose your blocks. You can rotate them, the bumpers, and then you can place them. And we'll see that because we're playing 8 players, only 4 players are going to get to place at once, and then the next round, the other 4 players are going to play. So you can see all the different blocks here. They have these little animations when you hover over them. And we've got a variety of different blocks, like this pendulum swinger that I'll grab, which can bump people around. We've got rails, we've got a coin. Yeah, we'll get more into that as we play.
I will give you guys a secret because I like you guys and I want you to do well. If you're going on a treadmill that's going the wrong way for you, doing a wheelie can help you bypass that if you want to be fancy. You can use your triggers to rotate your character a little bit and pop a wheelie.
We're getting live game help here.
So I want this fan to knock people into that thing, so...
How devious of you.
I mean,
watch out for the hole at the beginning. Wow, everybody got over that hole.
Okay, let's go, let's go. Ah! No. Poor raccoon.
Wow. Amazing. I got blown away by the thing that I placed. Sitting there with 0 points.
Spacey Chicken and Cool Ranch Sheep doing the exact same play every round. Very cool.
All right, choosing
so now the other
some
4 folks
power-ups.
are going to place power-ups. Or sorry, blocks, not power-ups.
Oh, these are blocks, okay.
Yeah, it's still blocks, and every few rounds there are power-ups that we'll explain when we get there.
And Sheep, that coin you have, if you touch that coin during the game and make it to the end with that coin, then you get extra points for that as well.
Okay, got it. I'll give people a chance. I'll put it right here. Give people hope.
That's how the game starts. Until you start losing. Then you gotta start hiding the coins.
That's very helpful.
I will save one.
That's very helpful.
Myself. That's very nice.
And it'll be me.
Only the first person to touch it.
Okay.
Oh no! Don't hit me with that!
Come on, horse!
Oh, bye!
Okay, here we go.
Oh, no!
How do you wheelie?
And I died.
Oh, damn it.
Yes! Okay.
I was off screen too long.
Not dead.
Oh, yes.
Wait, who got the coin?
I didn't even get
Coin victory.
Oh no! So close!
Throw me a line!
Look at that.
Wow.
Coin and the trick.
Dang!
And the first place. Big jump.
I gotta do some more tricks.
How do you even do tricks?
I think when you jump in the air, you press...
Okay.
Yeah, LB, RB.
Okay.
You can like
LB,
spin
RB.
around. And
Okay.
So now we'll get to pick between some power-ups. There's passive and active power-ups. When you hover them, they'll let you know if there's a Y or B button you have to hit. If not, then it's just gonna happen passively. Power-ups last for the rest of the game, and they reset each round, and you can stack them. So if you take something like Super Speed or Boost, if you take it more than once, like in a following power-up round, you'll have 2 boosts, or you'll have super speed, for example. And you can do tricks with the X button if you're on a Xbox controller, whatever the left face button is, if you're in the air.
Oh, man.
Wait for me.
Right.
Oh, finally, I'm gonna actually make it across.
No! Oh, yeah!
Oh, my goodness, no!
Yes!
Wow. no.
I spoke too soon. Oh, jeez.
I decided to do the trick at the very end. That was my demise.
I haven't even crossed the finish line like once yet. Oh, jeez.
Oh no. I can't believe in you.
I know.
Of
I know.
course.
I gotta dial in.
You just need a first place with a coin, with a. Here, this coin's for horse.
Horse is at the bottom of the scoreboard. Like, I remember when it was my game. This would never happen to me in Ultimate Chicken Horse.
Placement.
Oh, whoa. Oh.
Where am I?
Okay.
Am I
Okay.
alive?
Survived.
Okay.
What just happened? Why did I roll? Did not survive.
No.
Oh no, you fell. You're alive. You're alive. You're alive. Wheelie wheelie. Yeah.
No. Why can't I? Okay, here we go.
There you go. It's got the umbrella. Ooh,
I'm
it's
moving up.
Becoming a tight race here.
Oh,
Look at
creeping.
that.
Yep. Money Horse Spicy Chicken's coming for you.
Tied. Cool Ranch sheep. On the way up.
How can I actually help people?
Let's take it.
I guess I can't help.
How can I actually help is not a thing you hear very much.
Give me no choice.
In this game.
What's the worst block? What can I get rid of?
Right there.
I think him. I think he's the worst block.
Can you get rid of something that was just placed in this round?
That's something just
so
placed.
right now you can because it's early, but that's actually a planned feature to stop that.
Okay, wait.
All right,
first place, let's go.
I am dead.
Back on screen. Let me back on screen.
Hey, Cool Ranch Sheep, wait, chill.
Knocked off.
What?
Come on, chicken.
What the heck?
Come on, chicken.
Yeah.
Trick finish.
Wow.
I like the music.
Okay, it's still.
Oh, did my little flip not count as a trick?
All right, cheap team, let's go.
You might
You
have to
might not have
land
like
it.
finished it in time, yeah.
Okay.
Try to pull one off at the very end.
I think you got to do the double boost.
I'm doing the same thing.
I've been wasting my boost by using it right at the start and then ending up way behind everybody.
Okay, here we go.
Wasted my boost by forgetting.
Oh my god, I am so fast.
I cannot see myself.
Hey, okay, slow down for a second, everybody. Let's just take a second. Let's chill out. Alright, I'm cool. Now you guys can go fast again. Thanks.
Yes.
What?
I boosted it right at the end. I think it might have gotten me there first.
Let's see it.
Yeah, look at that.
Wow.
All right, come on, chicken.
Things
Let's
are
go.
changing. Oh my god, I dipped so far down now.
Alright, no more of that, Rich.
Oh, we'll see about that. Now I got double boost. Now I'm gonna get a coin that I'm gonna place somewhere that you're not gonna see where it is.
Where we go?
You don't have to destroy something if you don't want to either. You could just go into the air, but.
Yeah, you can just blow it up.
Oh no, that was such a mistake. Oh no.
Yes, yeah. No!
Oh, so I did trip it. Fell
Did you
off
fall
my
into a
bike.
hole?
I was going so fast.
I don't know where I am.
Get up there!
Oh, no way!
Cool
The
Ranch
wall
Sheep.
crawler! Not the wall crawl!
I think I'm
Breaks
still.
that down.
I think that's me. I think that's me.
There's still hope.
Oh, so it's stuck.
Wait. You can hold. You can hold B. Hold B to reset. You can still do it. You can still have time.
Oh no.
Where to go?
Oh, I have to start over?
13 seconds.
Okay, here we go.
10 seconds.
Go,
You
go,
have to
go.
want it, Raccoon. Never give up. 5 seconds, Raccoon.
Oh, look at two. Oh my god. But I'm in last place. Get F. Come on.
Yeah, I think like wall crawling should give me like 9,000 points.
Imagine it shows you the text on the side. Wall crawler.
Oh man. That was
Haha,
excellent.
no, I'm gonna remove that.
Yeah, we can pretend it's not a bug. At this point in development, there's a lot of
Put this coin out
bugs
here
that
for the
become
first person who
features.
wins.
Yeah.
You know?
There you go.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's very generous of you.
There you go. That's for me.
Wow.
Oh,
So nobody take it.
It's just
Yeah.
whoever gets
my
there
coin.
first. All right, guys, I'm not messing around this time. Good luck.
No, me neither.
Can everyone slow down for a
Oh,
second?
I should have done that. Oh, Rich, you're so much smarter.
I said,
oh,
thank you very
okay,
much.
but then
I like the umbrella. You can just kind of sail through the level.
Stop touching that.
There we go.
2 rounds remaining.
Is that it, or is there really 2 rounds remaining?
I think that might be it. Oh, no.
No, I think we got time.
Place.
Did Cool Ranch Sheep do something? Nope, I'm cool.
Yes.
Ooh, money horse.
No! Money Horse got a coin and instantly went to first place. It's like his passive ability. That's not. Disclaimer, not a real mechanic.
Not a real mechanic. Okay. I'm going
What's the power up that's gonna win me the video game right now? Super jump.
If you can control the jetpack, it's very powerful. But
it's arguably too powerful if you're an expert pilot. Oh no! Oh, bad start.
Please.
Uh-oh.
I screwed myself.
Guys, wait. Oh no. Who was that just won? Regular Sheep? It might be okay.
No, not over it.
Money Horse.
Yes.
Oh. Okay, but that was not a high place finish at least.
Who's Raccoon?
So
yeah, I don't.
I'm Raccoon.
Oh, did you just like Mary Poppins your way?
Yeah.
Like,
Let's see if that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh, jeez.
I had
Real
a trick
sheep.
to it.
Real Sheep.
Real sheep with the win. Cool Ranch isn't real.
Cool
Oh no,
Ranch
this is the final round.
imagination.
Oh man.
Okay.
Okay, listen, this is it, lads. There's a lot of people who could win. There's like 4 people who cannot win. The rest of us have a real good chance.
But those people are just going to try to sabotage everything. And I think I might
Money Horse is on the lead.
be one of those people.
No, Money Horse, wait. Money Horse, be cool.
Be cool.
No, be cool, Money Horse.
Let's see, how can I do more damage here?
Oh yeah, right after that speed thing would kill like 4 people, I think.
Oh
Yeah,
god.
yeah,
The right 4 people though, or the wrong 4 people? That's kind of the question.
Not me. I'm going above, so it's the right 4 people.
Bye.
Oh, that was me.
Somebody touch that for me. Somebody touch that for me. Thank you.
Any idea?
Your hair trigger on this jump button.
No, wait.
Wait, no!
Yes, first place.
Oh, Cool Ranch.
I threw it all away.
I mean, I think Fabio came second, so I think that's gonna.
All right, chicken.
I
get first.
I threw.
There's money.
Oh, Money Horse!
Money horse.
Money Horse.
Money Horse.
Oh wow.
Wow, good game.
That was a good game.
I'm sweating. That was good. That was a good game.
Yeah, GG.
And that was Ultimate Sheep Raccoon. Go wishlist Ultimate Sheep Raccoon right now if you too would like to get in arguments with friends, coworkers, and family members. We've got lots more Fan Fest ahead right here on IGN, so don't go anywhere.
Fan Fest is presented by the Army National Guard. Rise to every challenge and overcome everything. The next greatest generation is now.
IGN Store has it all. From clothes and collectibles to vinyl records, accessories, model kits, and action figures from the biggest and best franchises like The Legend of Zelda, Star Wars, Fallout, Dungeons and Dragons, and more. Whatever your pop culture passion, you're guaranteed to find something you love. There are new and exciting products hitting the store every week, like the Wasteland-ready Fallout Vault 33 hoodie, which pairs perfectly with the working wearable Pip-Boy. Plus, high-quality IGN Store exclusives like the powerful and spicy Star Wars Darkside Hot Sauce by Truff. We've even got merchandise for you to rock while tuning in to the IGN shows and podcasts you love. Or cap off a long day by relaxing to the soundtracks of your favorite video games, like Cyberpunk and The Last of Us. And the best part? You don't even need to leave the house to go there. Just head to store.ign.com and start shopping today. The IGN Store. You deserve it. Catch up on your up-to-the-minute gaming and entertainment news with IGN Podcast.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to a very special episode of IGN Game Scoop.
Game Scoop has you covered for all things gaming and the latest game releases.
Obviously, we're going to do Game of the Year watch.
Tune into Podcast Beyond for the biggest PlayStation news.
Y'all gonna have to let me cook, because these game devs need to learn a lesson.
Everything Xbox on Podcast Unlocked.
This is Steve Downs, the voice of Master Chief.
Catch up with your Super Nintendos on Nintendo Voice Chat.
Seth Macy's candidate for Game of Infinity.
And get all the latest console news and rumors with Next Gen Console Watch.
Now Xbox and Phil Spencer are even saying that a mid-gen refresh isn't even necessary.
The Cinefix Top 100 podcast picks a movie every week to celebrate and debate.
It's kind of every movie's grandpa.
Check out the sophisticated tech breakdowns on Digital Foundry Direct Weekly,
which is an absolutely beautiful game.
And dip into the business of games on the GamesIndustry.biz microcast.
We are going to be digging into the biggest stories of the past week.
IGN Podcasts.